Hello and welcome to Street News Now. I'm Lee Michaels. We have a jamming show for you tonight. It's going to be so much fun. And thank you for joining us. I want you to subscribe, like, and share. And I'm going to do it old fashioned way. Back in the day, we used to say, tell a friend, write it down, and pass it around. So do all of the above. But spread the word about the show and the network Street News Now, and let's get this puppy growing. We got some big things coming up, and we got the full house. Everybody's on board tonight. Even my main man from back in the day, Mr. Chris Bass. What's up, Chris?
The hearty boom shakalaka old fearless leader.
Yeah,
It's
thank
good
you.
to be back amongst everybody. How you doing?
I always say good to be black.
Yeah, that's true.
Well, good to have you back. We missed you a couple weeks now, and I know what it feels like when I'm not here.
I know, right? It's a big difference.
It's a big hole in the world, right?
That's right.
And let's bring in the next professor here, the doctor. What's up, Dr. Ron?
What's up? How y'all doing tonight?
Doing all we can.
Hey,
man.
all good in the hood.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
right. And our other professor, the real professor,
Peace and
Dr.
love.
Dr. Reverend Reggie Miles. That's hard
Peace
to
and
say.
love. Peace and love.
Peace and love. That's
Yeah,
right.
how's everybody? Good to see you. Bass, glad you back. Dr.
Yeah.
Ron, bless your heart. Thank you so much, especially for the birthday wish, birthday
Yes.
call and all
You
that.
know, happy birthday belated. I've been crazy on this end, and Dr. Ron called me to remind me that it was your birthday, and then in the next phone call, just you know how that is.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
apologize. Love you, and keep living, brother. Keep living. Right? That's the key.
6'8", I made it, man. 6'8".
That's right. Oh, that's you still young, fella.
Yeah, hey, Tower of Power. You still a young man.
Young man. That's right. And who did I kill somebody there? Oh, okay. Where's Buck? There he is. What's up, Buck?
Hey. And big shout out to my fellow Virgo. Virgo!
Yeah.
What day were you, Reggie?
Tuesday,
What day was that? What day?
the 30th.
The 30th. Okay. Yeah,
You
you're
a
an August
Virgo
Virgo.
also?
You got a little Leo in you, huh?
No, I'm full. I'm first day Virgo.
First, well, I mean, so you're almost on the cusp.
Yeah, I just got past that, man.
Buck, almost don't matter unless you're playing horseshoes and hand
Horseshoes.
grenades.
Oh, I hadn't heard that part.
Yeah.
I'm up on the 8th, so you know.
Okay.
It
And
is
bringing
what
up
it
the
is.
tail is my main man, Mike Love.
Hey man,
Welcome,
how you
bro.
doing, man? I'm glad you brought up that. Thank you so very much. Sound like somebody said, You know, I had a question for Dr. Ron. If you poot in public, do you need to apologize?
Do you need to apologize? No, you just need to walk away and leave it there.
And just leave it there.
Leave
Because, you know,
it there.
one of the things, like if you poot in public, you never know if it's going to have a scent to it or not.
You don't?
I don't. You know when you poot that it's gonna be or fart or whatever.
Well,
you
mine
wanna
don't
call it.
stink. Mine don't stink. So I mean,
Oh, Lord.
I'm talking about you normal human
Well,
beings.
let's,
You know.
I'm
Here
just
we
going
go.
to say it like this. Anybody over 50, the likelihood that it might stink,
Yeah.
the protocol is to just walk away and leave it there.
So
But
are
never-
you? But the question is, are you apologizing for the
That
noise?
way
that
you
it
don't
made?
have to say nothing.
But are you apologizing for the
Not at all.
noise that it makes, or for the scent that it may
Both.
leave?
Not, I'm not doing neither one. If you walk
See,
up
he's like
behind
a
me, if you walk up behind me and walk into something, you'd be like, "Damn, what was that?" And then I'm not even going to turn around and look.
But that's what you're looking for. You're looking for the victim.
You know,
I'm
like
sure.
when we was coming up. Now, see, you're gonna make me tell a story. When
Uh.
we was coming up, we had these elder members of our family that used to say, "Pull my finger."
Pull my
Yeah.
finger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I see all the elder members of the hosting crew remember similar type thing. Pull my. You couldn't wait to get to be an elder member of the family, so you can tell them young fellas, pull my finger.
Mhm.
And then usually your sister or somebody else in the family say, don't pull his finger, don't do it.
And it would always be too late.
What happens when the finger gets pulled?
Okay, somebody explain.
Come
it to
on,
me.
Buck.
The gas is released
What are we talking
From-
about? The topic at
from the
hand
crack
is.
of your rectum.
Wait a minute. What is your name tonight? Bug?
Bug. He bugging. He bugging. See, we fell for it. You fell right into the trap. That's what I love about him. That's why I always have him working with, because he set traps all the time.
Oh,
You went
my
right into
God.
the trap to ask him. And look at his face. He's like,
No, he ain't that smart. That was an accident.
all right,
That
Bug,
was-
I warned
was
him. I
not-
tried to tell him how you
That was
are.
not premeditated. No.
That was not nice.
All the time. All the time.
Oh, well, okay.
Yeah. So
Well,
did I
let's kick
answer
this
your
show off
question?
officially.
Did I answer your question, Mike?
It did. It
doesn't
is. Because,
matter.
you know,
It
I
doesn't
want to always have a question for Ask Dr. Ron. And that was this week's
All right,
question.
no problem.
Is
Glad I was
it,
able to
are
help.
you responsible for apologizing if you poot, fart, or let gas out in public?
Mm.
Glad
Yes.
I answered your question.
Yes.
Thank
Yes.
And maybe you could ask him a couple more times. Did he answer your question?
Good manners.
Yes.
Be humble. Apologize for your bad behavior.
Mike, did he answer your question?
Yes, he did. Yes.
So, okay,
Well,
you
we
gonna
need to
pick
clear
and
that
choose the answer you like. Okay, I got you. All right. Well, thanks, Mike, for turning the show out right at the beginning.
No
Throwing a
doubt. That's what I'm
curveball
here
right
for.
at the top of the first.
Hey, where the party at?
All right, we're gonna exactly. We're gonna go to Chris and let Chris kind of kick it off tonight. What you got, Chris?
Oh, well, thank you, O Fearless Leader. So I noticed over time that some things that were old are once new again. So it's like a return to listening to audio stories on the radio, for example. So when I was a mere youth, growing up in Chicago, there was a station called WBEZ 91.5 FM. It used to be owned by the Chicago Public School System before NPR acquired it. And so my mom worked for the Board of Education. So I was in school, homework, listening to all these educational programs. And then at 7 o'clock, they would air an old-time radio show. They had different ones throughout the week, Monday through Friday. They had shows like Gangbusters, The Lone Ranger, The Shadow, The Green Hornet. The Shadow became my personal favorite. So I never
Because
heard
the shadow
these.
knows.
Always. In the hearts of men, who knows what evil lurks in the hearts of men? The Shadow knows. So
Shadow knows.
that was always my favorite as a kid, listening to it. And I never heard these shows before until I got to grammar school. And so when I would just listen to all these sounds, sound effects, voices, and everything else, and theme and music, I was caught up in it because the imagination just went wild. And so I notice now that we're seeing that in scripted podcasting. So you go to Audible or Spotify, it's a resurgence of what we had. Because back in the day, they would have stars of the day, go on radio shows and make guest appearance and do audio stories. And now it's the same thing now. So I will give you a couple of things, example-wise, I've been listening to for scripted podcasting and audiobooks. So one is called Listening In. It deals with a couple who moves into a New York apartment and the wife begins to hear her neighbor's conversations via her home speaker. And then it goes from there. So she's in her home, just like an Alexa device, and all of a sudden she starts to hear conversations from her neighbors in the apartment. And that's where the story kicks off at. There was a story called Blackout. Now, Blackout is starring Academy Award winner Rami Malek, best known for playing Freddie Mercury in the 2018 film Bohemian Rhapsody. Now, he stars in an apocalyptic thriller as a small-time DJ fighting to protect his family and friends and community from the power grid going off nationwide. And that's the synopsis for that one. And another one that I also like is called Strange Air. In the synopsis, 10 years ago, Malcolm Smith hosted a show called Strange Air, a successful radio show about the paranormal. Malcolm was doing a live broadcast and vanished into thin air. So now his daughter, Chase, is doing a documentary based upon her father's disappearance. Now, another one that came to mind, well, this has been very interesting for me because I'm a big fan of Batman, called Batman Unburied. It stars Winston Duke. Some may know him from playing M'Baku from the Black Panther movies and also the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And it also starred in the Jordan Peele horror film Us. It starts off with him playing Bruce Wayne as a forensic pathologist, working in the same hospital as his father, Dr. Thomas Wayne. So in this storyline, his mother and father are not shot, his mother and father are alive, and he has no recollection of being Batman. What's unique about this cast, the whole cast is African-American and Latinx, all of them. So Batman is portrayed by a black man. Might as well call it black man at that point. But
in a radio voice.
Exactly, right. Okay. So all these conceptions are resurgence. Again, sound effects, voice, music, theme, stars of the day. And we've seen this coming into full swing now with, again, scripted podcasting and also audio stories. One that came to mind also, the autobiography of Malcolm X, narrated by Lawrence Fishburne. Now, here's connect to this one. Years ago, when Spike Lee got tapped to direct Malcolm X, the movie, he reached out to Fishburne and asked him could he play a role in the movie. Fishburne replied, "Am I playing the lead? Am I playing Malcolm?" He said, "No, I got Denzel for that. Would play somebody else." And Fishburne said, "You know, with all due respect, I got to start taking leading roles, because if I don't take leading roles, my whole career would just go in co-starring and things like that." And so he made the decision back then. And so you fast forward, this came out in 2020, he's portraying Malcolm X on audiobooks. So it's amazing correlations of these stars and people involved. And it's great for the imagination, it's great for the ear, and it's always something to find out. If you don't like about certain storylines, you can always go to podcasting and find something that you really like. And that's why I appreciate a resurgence of radio stories and audiobooks.
You know, in the Amos and Andy radio show, they were voiced by white folks.
Correct.
Which I thought was hypocritical in its own way, you know, later on, because at the time, I don't even know if I was born or whatever, but that just was really, really weird to just think in my mind that they were speaking like the African Americans of that time.
Right. They did.
Well, hello there, Andy.
Oh, yeah. The Kingfish and everything else, all those characters were portrayed by white men. As a matter of fact, they did the television series. They recruited, obviously, black actors to portray the radio versions going on the television screen. And they were, I mean, the guys who portrayed it were able to become executive producers and writers and everything else. And I saw a documentary about this, funny you mentioned that, Mike, about Amos and Andy. And you had these actors who knew what they were getting into during this time. It was on the air for 2 years. The NAACP protested that. But just the fact that you know you're about to portray a stereotypical character, how they work on your psyche, how you're able to function on a daily basis, but it's a steady check, and you're able to pay your bills, and you're able to, you know, have steady work. Now, again, just to see these actors tell their stories behind the scenes, you really have more empathy for what they did.
You know, one of the famous lines that I love from Amos and Andy is when Andy would be talking to Amos and they get ready to go somewhere, and he said, "Let's synchronize our watches."
I don't remember that one, but that sounds like something.
Andy, Amos, let's synchronize our watches.
But see, for what it was worth, I know it was stereotypical, but it really was a funny program. I mean, when you break down the actors portraying it and everything else, it really had its moments.
So he was only on TV for a couple of years?
For 2 years, yes.
Really? It seemed like it was a lot longer.
Yeah.
I was younger then too, but it was entertaining. And I think, you know, at that time, what was that, in the 60s? Late 50s?
Late 60s.
I think late 50s, yeah.
Late 50s, young 60s.
It was kind of a transitional period when people were trying to move on up and get away from those type of images. So that, timing-wise, I think timing killed it.
Yeah, I go along with that. Also got to factor in, say, a show like you had Amos and Andy on, and say NBC's I Spy with Robert Culp and Bill Cosby. Now here's Bill Cosby playing a college-educated Rhodes Scholar, speaks 5 different languages, and he's playing the spy. So between that and seeing Amos and Andy, as a black person, you want to get rid of one and embrace the other.
Yeah, yeah.
The noise you hear in the background is the Williams sisters playing a double-double with cheese. Because the Williams girls, they do have a lot of cheese, okay? So that's what my wife is watching that on the ESPN in the
I
background.
thought you were just getting applause every time you spoke. That's what it sounded like. You would say something and
No,
somebody,
timing-wise, yeah.
Right.
No, that's unfortunately from the TV. Did Reggie want to be out? What
I
happened?
think he
to
took
Reggie?
a phone call. Oh,
Okay. All right. Well, yeah, I remember Amos and Andy on TV, and I think, well, I don't know. I haven't been in a video store in so many years because most of them are gone now. But I remember seeing it on DVD. No, it was on VHS. The whole, 20 episodes or whatever it was at that time. And I started to buy it, but that might have been 30 years ago when I saw it last.
oh, easy.
So,
I mean,
yeah.
it was so stereotypical that you ran away from it, because it was you would start you wanted to embrace it, but they were just so over the top. The name of the lodge that they belong to, the Loyal Order of Buffaloes. It just all the little things. It was always so over the top that it was. I think it started to become offensive for African Americans.
Well, yeah, you had that going on. Plus, back in the day, there was a documentary called Mo Funny, narrated by Charles S. Dutton. And so if you were black comedians, say it was a team of you, 1-2 duo, you couldn't work solo, because if you worked solo and talked to a white audience, it was deemed offensive. So you needed a partner to bounce off of and not talk to the white audience.
Wow.
I was just informed that we actually have a cassette version of the Amos and Andy series.
Oh, really?
Yeah, my wife's uncle was a music and art collector, more or less, and he has a whole. She now has it. He passed away, and she was able to obtain most of his records and stuff. He has a hell of a record collection. Most of it has never been played, or he was such a geek, I guess, for music. If there was a new album that came out, he might have bought 5 of them.
Yeah.
So their albums have never been opened. And how many would you say you got? A couple thousand? She's not sure, but quite a collection. 45s and LPs, some CDs. Not too many CDs, or none. All albums and 45s. So that's I had 6,000 pieces of vinyl and probably close to 5,000 pounds. And one of my many moves across the country, I gave them to the mover for he knocked $6,000 off of the moving cost, because I was tired of moving that stuff around because it's heavy and it costs a lot of money.
But
So
think about the time and the place, though, not to interrupt, Lee, but think of the time and the place that you were in at the time, how popular 45s were.
Yeah.
And going from the 45 was the ultimate test. If you liked the 45, you were headed to get the album.
That's right.
Right.
Most people didn't buy the album first.
And then if you bought a 45, you would play the B-side to see what was on it.
Yeah.
And then many of the Temptation songs, the B-side, and sometimes became the best side.
One of the Michael Jackson songs, Who's Loving You? Have you ever heard him do that rendition? That was a B-side to one of those. I mean, and like you said, once again, you played it, and I remember playing that and got hooked on it. I can't even hit that when he starts, when I...
Yeah. Was that on I Want You Back? Was that the...
I don't remember.
Yeah,
but
I don't know why that hit me in the head, but I think that's was on the I Want You Back was the A side, and I think Who's Loving You might have been the B side. We'll have to.
I'm gonna tell you, Michael killed that rendition of that.
Did.
Man, did he kill it?
Yeah.
And you
Yeah,
know
it was
what's
really
not-
funny because he still had the real childish voice, and he was singing this adult song. You know, I
You
went,
know,
wow.
also when listening to it, especially if you get headphones, obviously, how Michael and Jermaine had really good compliment going back and forth trading the lead
Yeah.
when they would do their songs. And so me personally, I wish they had done more, but as you know, Michael became the front and then went on from there. But I like the songs that they did because again, you have two different styles of characteristic speak and tone and monotone and everything else, but they were able to kick it. I mean, from the standpoint of, back and forth, well, hell, just like the Williams sisters now doing, the double cheese, at the U.S. Open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you just wish when you watching this that her skirt would pop up.
Now, I've never thought about that, Mike.
I did just now when I looked over there because it almost popped up and I was distracted.
Of course, I think everyone has. It's our guys.
Look at Chris' face. Chris is like, no comment.
Right. Bug, what's the problem? Why are you looking
nothing.
kind of like in
I was
Twilight
picturing.
Zone?
I was picturing her skirt flying up,
Oh,
and those big horse legs just staring at me.
She's got what you call,
She's
they
a
used to call them, what was it, yams?
Mm-hmm.
I never heard that before.
They're still yams. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's
She's
what
a
they used to.
stallion.
They didn't say that you thighs was. You didn't say that back in the early days. You said yams.
Really?
Yeah, no, you didn't speak of body parts, but ass, thighs. No.
Right.
Why not?
Look at the yams on her.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Chris, last week we kicked off a little thing, and I thought it would be kind of interesting to do from time to time. And you weren't here, so I'm going to ask you to share with the audience what you do outside of this show. I know you have a show or two of your own, so this is a time for you to plug your other stuff and your bucket list that you might
I
have.
thought he played Batman.
Well, I think that's his alter ego.
Yeah, I didn't get the signal
Oh.
yet. Yeah, I'm still at home, so I didn't get the signal yet.
Let me look outside.
Yeah,
Nah, there ain't nothing up there.
Yeah, I get it on my phone now. I just stopped telling them don't do it outside because you might get shot. But just give it to me on the phone and we'll
High
be
tech
all right.
Batman.
Yeah.
Wow, I'm impressed.
Yeah, man. So as Lee said, and I do two shows, Wednesday shows called CBI, Chris-based interviews. And I've done that now for a couple of years. In fact, my first guest was Lee. I figured I might as well run into the ground immediately. So let me get Lee to come on so we can just go right into the ground immediately and just go right to hell.
It sounds like
your
you're
show-
kind of desperate
yeah.
to me.
I was going to say, has your show done 360
Were the
going
ratings
up? Or,
that
Yeah,
bad?
not real. No. Seriously, no. It was always cool to have Lee on, and Lee was very gracious to come on, and we really had a good time. That anchored
destroy
off.
your show. Thank you very much.
Well, there you go. He came with Louisville Slugger in hand and swung away. But it was always fun, of course, to someone that you love and admire to come on and get a maiden voyage for your program. So I've done that for 2 years, and it's very nice to have that and have people come on, and have guests come on and just do their thing. And as a host, as everybody knows, the key thing is to make the guest feel comfortable. So he or she can able to tell you things they probably won't tell anybody else. And that skill happens over time. I think one of the best to ever do it for me was, say, people like Larry King, Oprah before she became Mopra. That's a whole different conversation. I think she was pretty good. And when you're able to connect with that guest and you go from there, it's just an amazing ride you take for the time you have the guest on. And
Did you
so,
say Donahue?
No, Donahue was good too. No, I mentioned Mopra.
I used to love Donahue.
Donahue was sweet. I mean, he was too smooth.
Smooth.
Yeah, he was. Absolutely.
Cool,
So
calm,
when you,
and collected.
look, and when you take little nuances from hosts like that and try to develop your own thing, I mean, it's like a master class. You're learning from the best. You sit back and watch what makes them tick. And me personally, for me to be in radio and to be a former radio producer and talk and work with the host I work with, my first person that I ever worked and admired with and became a great mentor to me and friend was late great Ty Wansley, and I got a chance to work with him and watch him work. And he was the one that really got me involved in talk radio as a fan at 19 years old in college, and then get a chance to meet him personally. It's just like, it was like meeting Jordan. You just sit back and just let the person roll and go from there. To then to work with him side by side, there are no words for that. You just sit back and listen and take note, and hopefully one day you can be, on the mic yourself. So I always think about them when doing my program. So that's the Wednesday program, CBI Chris Space Interviews. And then on Fridays, it's Baseline. And so I've been doing Baseline now since, I probably want to go back to around 2009, around that way. And you create your own show and you go from there. And that's pretty much covering the topics, again, having guests on, personality driven. And I'm appreciative of doing these shows, including the show I'm on now, because as a broadcaster, you're able to be solo and then work with others. And then you're just able to increase your skill set. So I thank you for the time.
I like Baseline. That's hot from a marketing I love that. That's hot.
It's a great name.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is a great name. I want to say hello to Dr. Rachel Ross. She's in the chat room. She's saying, hey, where you been, girl?
Hey.
And for all you guys that have prostate problems, that should be your doctor.
Really?
Mm-hmm. She's a MD and has a PhD in sexology, and she knows all about all that kind of stuff.
I have a question for her, and maybe she can put it in the chat or something like that. Let me make sure I put my comments up. You remember, and they don't do this anymore. I mean, my doctor doesn't do it. When I was a kid, one of the first things when the doctor would examine you is they would grab your testicles and make you turn your head and cough. What was the purpose of that?
It was called a ball cough.
A ball cough. Now, I've never heard that before.
Me either.
But that's what they would do. You come in, and the next thing you know, dude's got your testicles, and he said, turn your head and cough.
And he said that with such authority.
Oh, yeah.
Might as well say,
it was a ball cough.
That's a nut crusher.
And the way Lee said it, like you're back in college. Professor Michaels, what is that called? It's called a ball cough.
Either that or he was a pedophile. One or the other. I don't know.
Oh my God. Oh.
You needed balls to say that.
Right.
Ball.
Yeah.
I don't know if Dr. Rachel has an answer for that or not. She probably heard us cutting up. Yeah, I'm a Pasadena.
Well, Jed popped on in the comments and said it was for hernias to see. But would a kid
it was
have a hernia?
Yeah, you can have a hernia at a young age.
Well, like from pushing the lawnmower too hard, washing the car.
It could be, Yep.
Say wax on.
Yeah, wax on.
Wax off.
I would strain myself.
Yeah. I acquired a hernia while out on my boat, and we were going through a lock.
You want to tell that story while your wife in the room?
Yeah, it's cool.
Oh, okay, just check.
And, excuse me, sir. Was this the regular boat or the yacht?
The yacht, yeah.
How do we know it was the yacht? Just asking.
I don't know what's a regular boat.
The small.
Oh,
these
under $1 million.
boat look like the SS Minnow.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, it was more like the SS Minnow
with the hole in it. With the hole in it, right?
With the holes in it, right?
Yeah.
So we were going through a lock, and this jackass on a tugboat decided he wanted to kick up his propeller and cause a wake inside the lock. Now, the lock is when you go from one body of water to another, and it has to adjust the height of the water. So you go into this gated area.
Oh, like the Panama Canal.
Yes, that's what a lock is. Exactly.
Wow.
So they either put water in or take water out to balance you out to go into the next body of water. You have those going into the Great Lakes and the Erie Canal and all that. So this jackass decided he wanted to play with me. And
wait a minute, careful with that. Careful with that.
You sure? Your wife's in the room.
Cause a wake to make my boat go sideways in the lock. So as my boat was shifting out of control, I had this long metal rod that you use for pushing off of a dock or whatever.
This is a
And
very sexy story, Lee.
and it hit me down in the groin area, the handle part of it. I was trying to push, and it tore my, the area down there. So I had a hernia, and I was walking around for a couple of years and didn't realize it until I went to get an examination. And the doctor said, "Hey, you got a hernia?" What the hell? No. What are you talking about? So I had to have a hernia repair.
Wow.
But that's one way you can get a hernia. But sometimes it's from, lifting up something too heavy, or sometimes your inner workings gets torn automatically or accidentally or whatever. You can
So
have
what did they do? Like
hernia.
put your balls up on the table and like put them on a tray and then like cut in there or something?
No, it wouldn't have anything to do with your balls. It was just
Oh.
above, right in the groin area. And so they go in there and cut and put a mesh in there, and then stitch it back up to push whatever it is that's trying to bulge out. You see some people that appear to be really overweight and the stomach is like laying way down. Many times that's a hernia.
Wow.
Yeah, very large one.
I would
Now I'm
say.
beginning to sound like a doctor, but that's just stuff you pick up.
You asked me to cough, I'm gonna sock you in the eye.
Me too. So yeah, that's a hernia can come from any number of different things. So yeah, thank you, Chris, for enlightening us in terms of the other shows that you have, and keep up the good work.
Baseline, that's hot right there, boy.
It is. I was out in Orange County driving around one day, and there was a street called Baseline, and I took a picture of it and I sent it to him. Do you have that? Yeah.
Yes, I do. Yeah.
I still have it on my phone, so if you delete it by accident, I think it would be pretty cool. You could use that as a bug on your screen.
You know what you could use for theme song, Chris?
What's that?
There was a song called Baseline by Mantronics.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Doom, 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 doom. Yeah.
That's hot.
But you
Boy,
would have to,
that's hot right there. Come on, man. That's hot.
I gotta check it out. Thank you.
Mantronics. He was.
I forgot
Go
about
ahead,
that.
Bug. Bug. Ooh, that was hot right there, boy. You brought it home.
Yeah. You know why I'm calling myself Bug tonight?
No.
My friend of mine was using speech to text, right? And she's like, "Oh, sorry, Buck, blah blah blah, whatever she said." And the phone translated into bug. Instead of buck. I was like, "I'm gonna use that tonight." And it was the same name. If you ever watch This Is Us, the mom used to call the big mama on there, the big daughter. She was huge. That her nickname was Bug. Hey, Bug.
Hey, Bug.
And I can't even remember. Katie Loss was the name of the actress. I can never even remember the name of the character. I just remember that mom called her Bug. So when I referred to her, I'm like, "Oh yeah, her and Bug."
Yeah, Bug.
Bug. Yeah, hey,
You
Bug.
bugging, Bug.
Yeah, nicknames
thank you,
for
Mark,
kids
thank you, Mark. I appreciate that.
can be crazy. It's crazy because I named one of my granddaughters Scooter because before she was even crawling or walking, she used to scoot on her belly across the floor, so she became Scooter.
She was trying to make sure she didn't get a hernia.
That's true. She was going across the floor like a snake. And
Cool.
so yeah, we come up with crazy names for nicknames for our family members.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin,
Her head's like
yeah.
a pumpkin.
Yeah, little 4x4. Dr. Ron, you want to step up? Do your
I
thing.
sure can. We have a topic tonight that is all over the headline, and I'm kind of, I guess appalled over Greg Abbott and his what he's been doing with people that have been trying to cross over into the United States in Texas. For those that don't know, he has been putting them on trains and buses and shipping them to sanctuary cities. Well, in Chicago on last night, a train load of I don't want to call them refugees, but people from other countries were shipped to Chicago, and they were welcomed with open arms by Lori Lightfoot, the mayor of Chicago. She had community organizations standing by to greet them, to give them medical care. Some of the ladies were pregnant. Some of the people had illnesses. They were in, not perfect health when they got here. And one of the things that he has been doing, Greg Abbott, has been sending them to all sanctuary cities, like New York, DC, any place that declared themselves a sanctuary city. He has, sent busloads or put people on trains and sent them there. Now, he's been doing this as well, you all want to be, all in favor of these things. We're going to share the responsibility of taking care of these people, notice I said that, these people that want to come to America or seeking refuge in the United States because of whatever country that they came from. And, I applaud Lori Lightfoot for stepping up, getting the organizations involved, and allowing people to help them for those that were in need. Now, they're in the process of getting them straight. It's still kind of new. It just started happening last night. But there was also a group of people that was sent to New York, and, Greg Abbott, the governor of Texas, is also saying he's going to send them to other sanctuary cities as well. So it's just he's playing politics. Most of the sanctuary cities happen to be places where there are Democratic mayors, and he is attacking them by saying, "Oh, you want to be, sanctuary city? Look, let me give you something to make you change your mind." And he's been doing this as a political weapon. He's been weaponizing the need and the grief of people that have come to this country that literally has escaped the countries that they, left, as refugees. They left their countries because they were under attack. They didn't have a place to go. Mexico wouldn't allow them to stay. They passed through Mexico trying to get to the United States to get help. And I'm going to say this because this is something that America soon forgets, that, most of the Europeans in this country, they were refugees at one time.
Mhm.
They came to America, kicked out of the UK or whatever country that they were. Most of the people that landed on Plymouth Rock were criminals from whatever country they came from. And when they got here, they decided to continue their criminal behavior, and now we have America. But but it's not, something that, I don't think you should weaponize people's grief, and that's what it looks like is happening. So, I'm gonna throw it out to the panel. Do you think he's right, wrong, or is he on point for doing what he's doing?
He's wrong. What he should do, now listen, as the governor of the state of Texas, he has the authority, I guess, or the right to say yay or nay in terms of who he allows into his state. However, he should coordinate those movements as opposed to just forcing it on another area. He could call the mayor or the governor of that state and say, look, I need some help here. I can't accommodate the influx. Please help me spread the burden, if you will. How much capacity do you have? That's the human and American way, as opposed to saying, screw you, take it whether you can or not. I'm just going to force this on you. That's just un-American, and he's just being a jackass.
You know, what's really, and I agree with you and Ron to a certain extent, and I don't know enough about the story to actually combat a conversation, and I'm being totally honest. I'm not sure if Mayor Lightfoot was warned or not, if all of a sudden she gets a call from the police department or immigrations or whatever saying that there are immigrants here that are unclassified and we have to put them somewhere. I don't know how that process works. I'm not sure if it was. Go ahead.
From
I'm
what I
sorry.
understand, he has not done that. He sent people to Washington, D.C. and New York, and now Chicago, and I think there may have been another city. But he's just doing it, he's being a bully.
So when you say he sent, does that mean that if they're coming on a train, coming on a plane, that the state of Texas is paying for this?
Yeah,
Mhm.
that's on his expense.
Okay.
But
Yeah, he put
he's
these
just,
into Chicago on a train,
yeah.
and from what I understand, all the sanctuary cities have been put on alert at least about a month or so ago. Because he had literally made a press conference and said, "Hey, you all are sanctuary cities. Well, we're gonna send you some of these,
Saints.
people to take the weight off of them trying to be here in Texas. We're gonna ship them to you." Just like same subject, same type of scenario. When DeSantis, the governor of Florida, began to attack the alphabet people, New York made a statement: we'll take you. Whoever that doesn't feel comfortable in the state of Florida anymore, you are welcome here in New York. So that general statement was made by many people that had humanitarian hearts. And the governor of Texas is like, okay, well, you're a sanctuary city. Let me give you some folks. We're going to send these folks to you. And that's exactly what he has been doing.
But if they're a sanctuary city, what's wrong with that?
There's nothing wrong. I don't think that's the point here.
But that's kind of how it sounds like, like
And
you
Lee
took
just said
them
it
in-
was wrong.
Yeah, that's what
You
it
just said
sounded
was
like.
wrong, Lee.
It's wrong that the way he's doing it, without any kind of notification or preparation on the other end. It's like a F you. I'm gonna send these people here unannounced, and when they show up, it's on you. That's it. That's not
I'd like
the way
to see
humans
those
should work.
details. I want to agree with you and Ron 150%. I just don't know enough about it to agree with you guys on it,
Well-
because it just seems kind of premature. And
So
once
you
again,
got more faith in your governor down there in Texas.
that's
than we
easy
do.
for you. That's easy for you to say. When we were backstage, Ron said the same thing. You're
but
putting
we are-
words in my mouth. I'm
we're-
saying I
we're
don't know
telling
all
you-
the details.
We just told you the facts.
Well, you guys
Look.
show it to me in black and white.
Look,
I know we just told you in black.
Yeah, but you can't even tell me. You still haven't explained
Mike.
why a doctor makes you cough outside of the hernia situation.
Look,
you didn't
Mike,
fully explain
I
that.
did tell you. You didn't accept the answer.
I did.
perhaps.
I just said,
Look,
I mean, I want to hear a doctor say it. Okay, not to
Look.
disrespect you. I just want to hear a doctor say
Okay.
it.
All right.
Look, Mike.
Okay,
That's
it's the same thing
wise.
here.
That's wise.
and
Check and recheck.
Yeah, and Greg Abbott's press conference today, he said verbally out of his own mouth, quote unquote, and I'm gonna send some more y'all way. Okay, so he's weaponizing these people to try to send to these sanctuary cities to, like, I'm gonna teach y'all a lesson. Y'all want to be a sanctuary city? I'm finna send some more your way. So
Did he say mo or more?
whichever your ears hear, bug.
Stop
whatever,
bugging, boy.
whatever your ears feel comfortable with, you
That's what he said.
assimilate that. Okay.
I'm just wondering.
but it's a characterization, Rod. Now you get hit in the head on that one, because you're characterizing I would rather for you to have somebody record it so we can see it and let it be his words than the characterization from you and Lee, and then say, "Well, I'm down with the governor." I mean,
no, he quoted the governor. That's what the governor said.
I'm sure it was more of a paraphrase, but okay.
Yeah.
You're sure of that?
No, I said, I'm guessing.
I'm sure that was paraphrased.
A direct quote that he was reading. Ron, were you
He
reading
said
directly
more.
off-
He said more of a paraphrase.
Yeah.
He didn't say direct. He said more.
I'm not going to sit here and play word games with you jackasses
when
tonight.
when the show is over with, since you're
go check for yourself.
Right. When you're
said.
close, Mike,
and if it's something different, come back next week and make the correction.
Yeah.
You go right ahead, Mike.
Yeah,
go ahead and knock that out.
It ain't gonna
Greg,
it ain't gonna happen.
Look,
it ain't gonna happen. He should have came to the show with the video instead of characterizing him, and then Lee backing him up, talking about,
That's right.
you
That's
down
what
with
he
your
said.
little governor and everything. You and your little governor, you
You better pay attention to your governor down there in the state of Texas. That's what you need to do.
The different things the governor talks about all the time. All the politicians should be, what they say should be taken with a grain of salt, to be honest with you.
No. I totally disagree with you. If you're going to be a representative of a state or a city or county, if you've been voted into that office, you should have some credibility. You can't just come into the media and lie, tell untruths. That's I'm trying to contain myself here because I'm about to say it's fucked
all
up.
the time, Bug. I don't know why he defended them.
Politicians do that all the time.
All
Mr.
the
Lee.
time.
You need to stop. It's wrong. Stop it.
You should be hitting the button when you talk.
I did.
No, thank you. That was for your past discretions.
Right. So you missed it when I said it was fucked up.
Yeah. Oh, damn. You sure did. Because I knew it was one that was missing. Thank you. I truly understand what Dr. Ron is saying, and it's not right. But once again, these circumstances are set up, where, and not in defense of the state of Texas, but how do you handle, like Dr. Ron said, people are coming. We don't know why they're coming. Are they escaping something? Are they bringing some kind of disease? We don't know what happens when they're standing at the doorsteps of the United States of America, trying to come in.
Yeah.
And have nothing, and have no paperwork that says, hey, I got cancer, I've been locked up, I ain't ate in 10 days. Once again, they're looking for shelter. And I think the admirable thing to do is to have a concern. But once again, we just need more clarity instead of, this grandstanding from the governor, with the gavel. This is what we're gonna do, and you're gonna do it. That's the part. I'm in full agreement with you guys on that.
Yeah,
but
that's wrong.
Yeah, that's wrong. But politically, all of these guys play games. The politicians play games.
No. There's no question the governor in the state of Texas, I was about to say great state, but in the state of Texas,
wonderful,
he is playing politics. He is
big state.
He's pointing the finger at the sanctuary cities, which most of them, if not all of them, happen to be Democratic control, from up in the state of Oregon, Portland, and other cities like that. But that's okay. It's a part of America. And here's a guy down in Texas passing judgment without being concerned or doing it in a systematic way. You're right, bringing up the issue. We don't know a whole lot about the people that are coming across the border, but there is a screening process. Okay, they have to be vetted. But in the meantime, you can't just have people standing at the border, needing food and shelter and medical attention and so on, because first of all, these are human beings.
Absolutely.
These are people, just like your mother
and father.
These are God's
people.
Yeah, that's right. So why would we treat another human being without some kind of humanity and love and
Well, he
respect.
put him on a train. I'm more than sure they fed him
Well, okay, that
coffee,
was
tea, or
very,
milk.
that was very nice of him.
Yeah, I'm
Okay,
just saying, once again, we don't have all the facts. It's easier to say, yo, governor, Texas, this, that, and the other
well,
thing. And I'm hearing more of that coming from you and
that's where it's
Ron.
coming from.
Yeah, well, okay, that's where it's
And this
coming
is,
from.
but see, Mike, this has been going on for several weeks now. Where you been? Where
It's
you
been
got?
going on longer than several weeks.
No, I'm talking about this whole thing with him shipping people out on buses and trains.
Well, they've done
Yeah.
it before.
Well, that
Yeah,
doesn't make it right.
Yeah, it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. That's the part that now you just answered it for me. How do we get to the right? And that's
Putting
where
together.
if I'm going to be critical of the governor grandstanding on a podium saying what you're going to do is not the answer.
Right.
What is the answer? Because we're talking about human beings. How do you lay down at night and pray for every human being and every living thing on this planet, but then treat them like SHIT on television?
Selfishness.
Watch
Yeah.
your language.
I did. That's why I spelt it.
Just in case if you say
Just
something
in
wrong
case.
coming up.
But see, also you have to look at what is the ulterior motive. Any politician's ulterior motive. So what's the end game for Governor Abbott? I think the end game for him is to run for the presidency in 2024. So what he's doing is all of this type of grandstanding and showing he's doing this so he can curry favor to the conservatives and anybody else want to get on board. So that way this starts at the foundation for his potential possible running for the presidency.
Absolutely. I mean, and that could very well be. I mean, that's what these people do who seek a career as a politician.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
If he's going to run for president, I don't know how he's going to beat President Manchin.
Well, that's a whole nother that's a whole nother case.
That's another topic. Yeah. That's another show. But here's a statement from your governor in the great state of Texas.
Okay, it says first bus of migrants from Texas to sanctuary city Chicago just arrived. They're flooding into the state at a historical rate thanks to President Biden's open border policy. So see, read in between the lines right there. Now it's the Democrat versus the Republican because we are a border state.
Which is what I said earlier. He's making it a political battle.
Over and I think I agree with you guys on that.
Over people's lives. You know, people are seeking help. Okay. And he is saying, okay, well, we're going to choose to weaponize these people and make a political battle out of these things. And that's what exactly.
Well, it is a political battle. The last line says it all. Texas will continue busing migrants until the president secures the border. So once again, and none of us on this panel know the extent of the security. We've seen some horrible video on how they're handled coming in. But once again, it's a political fight. And that's what needs to be exposed.
My question to the governor of Texas is, have you picked up the phone to call your president to try to work out a solution to the problem? I would bet he probably has not.
No, I don't.
If he had, he would have said that. Trust me.
Texas will continue busing immigrants until the president secures the border. So they've had to have some kind of conversation, whether Biden says
he's putting the blame on the president, and rightfully so.
Well, that means that the president gave him an answer, and it wasn't the answer that he liked.
No, actually, what happened was the president.
What had happened was
the current president changed the policy that Trump had in place.
Right.
Then his administration, and
that was the first political football right there.
Exactly. So when he said, well, so now you're opening up the borders for anybody to come into this country, and they have a problem with that in the first place. The reason why Trump had closed the borders was because of the COVID situation. Okay.
Well, that was the temporary excuse, but he he wanted to close the borders.
Anyway,
prior
that's
to
why.
it. Yeah,
right,
he
yeah,
was working on, he was
building
building the
walls.
wall, all of that,
Right.
prior to COVID.
Yeah.
So
So
when
he
COVID came about, he used that as another political football.
and now they're
Say,
right.
yeah, bringing these germs in here and all that.
Exactly.
But listen, this is the stuff that bothers me, and it's right here on the screen right now. If you give a damn about humans, Mr. Governor, have you picked up the phone and called the President of the United States? I'm sure the President would accept your call. And y'all have an adult conversation and come up with some solutions. There are solutions for this problem. But if you don't want to have that conversation, then the problem's not going to get solved, because whatever the president comes up with, you may not like, but at least having a conversation, you may have some input in terms of the solution.
Democrats and Republicans have different agendas. That's
True.
nice the way you tied a nice little ribbon on that, and it sounded very, very sincere. But they got to get, that's what we were talking about last week about Democrats versus Republicans. Are we at the level that we don't need these party lines?
Well, you can have the party lines and work across.
Are you hitting a high tone voice?
Because I don't know.
Oh,
That's
okay.
That's the microphone.
Oh, okay.
You can have party lines to have your differences, but when it comes down to human life, all that should go out the door. Because there's nothing more important.
Look,
well, that's what we have to work for.
I'm gonna throw another layer on top of this. We have other border states that are not having the problem that Greg Abbott is having. You got,
Florida had it with Cuba for a while.
Well, I was thinking about California, Arizona. There are other border states right now that exist.
But it takes longer to come in from California. Where are they going to come from? Asia?
No, they come in across the border in Mexico, Tijuana.
Right.
Well, they already do that. And that's a whole different conversation, including drug smuggling and everything else that's going on. The migration ain't just with people. It's with drugs. It's with people. It's a whole list of things.
You're right. And all of that not necessarily is walked across or bused across or trucked across the borders. It's coming in on airplanes and boats.
Boats and everything.
As well. So, when I hear politicians talk about, well, we need to have more control on our borders. But people from all over the world can come in here and sometimes they get lucky smuggling all kinds of goods through the airlines and cruise ships, cargo ships. You don't know what's on those boats.
Military aircraft. Don't skip those.
Yeah, wait a minute, and not to throw anything at my little brother, your son, on them damn 53-footer tractor trailers that's going up and down the highway. It's so many trucks on the highway. You going, what are they shipping? What's in there? But once again,
everything
Lee,
you use.
That's right. But Lee, you answered it for me when what you said about the political standoff, because I believe that's where the problem is. Yeah, it's human to say, hey, man, let me call them. I know you're a Republican and I'm Democrat, or vice versa, whatever the case may be. Let's talk about it. It won't work that way. The system will not allow it.
Well, then again,
it has to be who you represent. And I'm sorry.
Vote them out. If they're not doing what we just painted, get rid of them. If I don't care, I don't give a damn whether it's a Republican, independent, or Democrat. If they're not serving your best interest as a citizen of this country, then don't vote for them again.
Yeah, there you go.
That's it.
I'm with you on that. Now, Professor got something to say. Whenever he scoot his chair up close to the microphone 3 or 4 times, he got something to say.
You got to turn your mic on, though.
Yeah, not yet.
He's so excited.
Yeah, he was scooting up.
Boy,
I was like,
yeah,
oh boy, whatever he getting ready to say, getting ready to be rough.
I know you guys were getting into something, but it was something that was going on, and then my phone had been blowing up because there was something happening on the other side of the street, and I said, "Oh God, let me hurry up and deal with this." And it's been a lot of venting, and I've been dealing with it. So, and I've been just hearing what you guys say halfway through, and so I'm gonna have to get back in it because the last time the last thing I was, attached to was when Bass was talking about the audio work, and from NPR, and that the audio there's a resurgence with it with podcasting and stuff, and so
it's called creativity.
I
And
might even have to start teaching that back in my class, at least starting them off with a 5-minute program.
And your students, 99% of them have never heard of some of those shows. So they don't have anything to compare it to other than what they hear today on the radio.
Well, I never heard of half those shows.
Right.
Well, it's NPR, and I'm quite sure they still do it, but I used to have my kids listening to Driveway Moments, and that was the NPR program.
Mm-hmm.
And where
NPR's got the best podcast. They put a lot of effort into those podcasts.
Heavily produced.
They really do. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because they have the staff to do it.
And they don't they got the room. They don't have to worry about commercials.
Right. Well, the commercials are not a problem, but they may have 6 or 7 people working on a 30-minute show.
Yeah.
And
they just dropped the Corporation of Public Broadcasting just dropped a bomb this week. I don't know if you saw it in the world famous the programming department on Facebook. They put up $500 million or something, 500,000 is 500 something to start bringing in urban alternative programming.
Uh-oh.
And they're starting in that. And they're starting in Milwaukee and another Midwestern state. Now, okay, so all things considered, remember for years, that's all we heard about and all those different kind of programs that they had. And then they kind of got into the jazz thing, and the smooth jazz, and they kind of brought that back. Now they're talking about alternative urban programming for cities. I didn't get all the details, and you can read it. I posted it on the programming department on Facebook. And it talks about trying to meet the needs of, I guess, an African-American audience to get more listenership into PBS.
Well, man, now that they're like 3 decades too late.
Yeah, they kind of slow.
Maybe five, because I think the corporation, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, I think Johnson set out the money for that. I think that came out in 1968 or something like that. And I think that might have been a part of what they had been talking about. It might have been a paragraph or something in the Warren Commission report or something, on that assassination. I got to look at that. But that was something where they have been trying to reach out to Black people for over 50 years, right? Over that.
Yeah.
I just want to know what alternative urban programming is. I mean,
did you go look at it, Lee? Okay.
Yeah.
Mike could tell you if he had read the article himself before.
Well, I read it, but the thing of it is, I didn't get much out of it because it doesn't explain what urban alternative is outside of. It's not saying if it's music intensified, if it's talk intensive. That's the part it didn't break it down. They stuck.
Okay, well, in that case, in that particular instance, does urban mean Black or does it mean city?
In this particular instance, yes, they're directing it at an African American audience. Yes.
What alternative?
So they're gonna give us a little something 50 years later. All right, I got that.
Yeah.
I thought it was like Black alternative artists. I'm like, Black, and wasn't a lot of Black alternative artists.
Well, that's what I said. They didn't break it down totally. That's why they're saying urban alternative programming.
Why don't we?
I know, but that might be good because that might be something that's supposed to be opposite of what commercial radio is doing.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. You can take that in 25 different ways. Why don't we invite somebody from NPR over here so they can explain it?
I think that's a great idea.
Now,
Yeah.
you know, and that might be possible because my hero in charge, I think if she's still with the Corporation of Public Broadcasting, Jeanette Dates, she was the dean at Howard University
Please call her.
in the
Yeah.
School of Communication.
Or tell her to call us.
Yeah. Have her on as your guest for next week.
We'll
Please.
see. We'll
Yeah.
reach out to her.
Yeah. Let's see if we can make that. See, I like to have clarity on, see, when you say alternative,
Yeah, what
that
is
means
that?
something opposite of what you have now. But
Right.
what does that look like?
Alternative lifestyle. Maybe that's
Uh-oh,
what it
I-
means.
hey,
Black
I'm gonna have
alternative
to- I'm gonna have
lifestyle.
I'm gonna have to click out. You talking about alternative
I'm
lifestyle?
just saying,
Oh, God.
maybe that's what they meant.
Well, it's like alternative rock. You know,
That's what I just said a
music.
minute ago.
Yeah, I mean, but that was it. Kind of the label has more clarity than alternative urban programming.
I believe the word alternative here is in reference to their regularly scheduled programming.
Hmm.
We're going to bring in urban programming as an alternative in markets that we have looked at who probably have a large urban audience or African American audience or whatever to super serve them when we haven't done that with programs like All Things Considered.
Okay.
Okay,
So I'm
maybe.
looking at something right now, and it says public radio amps up the music. They started this in June, and they launched the urban alternative format in Minneapolis and Milwaukee.
Yeah.
And so they got a
Does it say what it is?
And what is the percentage of black folks in those two
I'm
cities?
1%.
So,
Same as Dubuque, Iowa.
Yeah, that's I mean, to start in
I'm
those
sure
two markets.
yeah, but I mean, it's more than 1%, but it ain't 25%.
But then the thing of it
30%.
is, does it mean that they're going after the African American audience? Maybe they're trying to.
And see,
up
urban
the-
doesn't necessarily mean black, because if you remember when that terminology came along back in the 70s, if I remember correctly, or late 60s, no, 70s, it was a label that was put on black radio without calling it black radio.
for the
that
sake
kinda-
of gaining advertisers.
Yeah, exactly. And to paint the picture that perhaps other people might be tuning in, and that was a way that they could sell to Coca-Cola or Mercedes-Benz or whatever.
Absolutely.
That's why that word came about. If I remember correctly, maybe WBLS in New York was maybe one of the first, if not the first station to take on that title.
Oh,
Yes.
Frankie.
Yep, Frankie Crocker was the master blaster at that time.
Chief Rocker. That's
Well, see,
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Nielsen, let's not leave, Arbitron at the time.
Mm-hmm.
As a matter of fact, just sidebar, they're getting ready to sell. Nielsen has put the research company up for sale.
and somebody just their stockholders just approved the sale.
They just approved the sale. So that's getting
So
ready
who's
to be
buying it?
They didn't say.
An investment firm.
Yeah, he said who, so I don't know the
Yeah.
name. Yeah, right.
Oh,
It's-
no.
What is an investment
nobody
firm?
has the money. It has to be an investment firm.
Yeah.
Nobody
the
has the money.
same jackasses that own the TV and radio networks, probably.
Yeah.
So there goes monopoly again.
There it
Taking
is. It won't
control.
stop.
If you own it, you can control it.
But again, it makes sense to go into a different revenue stream, not just, for example, urban. Like I said before, Lee, it doesn't mean black. It can mean anything else. Because again, for example, look at radio. Also look at television, where Arsenio Hall was doing his talk show. What he was able to do was skew younger and get the non-Carson people. So he was able to get the Gap, Pepsi Cola during that time, all geared towards younger people. So if you just take the plan and then go skew in a different direction to get the demographic, seems like that's part of the plan here.
Stole a lot of
Yes,
from Letterman.
Professor, man.
Okay, so it says public radio. I'm reading in this article. It says public radio marks Juneteenth and Black Music Month with music programming including NPR, Tiny Desk concerts, and the launch of Urban Alternative Public Radio format, a locally customized format using hip hop and R&B in Minnesota and Milwaukee.
That's it. So that's all we really had, Lee. I mean, and that's what I posted in the programming department.
Yeah.
So if Professor can get his person to come on and break it down a little bit more, we already know that the word urban is covering African American audience. You know, we don't have to play stupid to that. But at what is their agenda? What is the Corporation of Broadcast trying to do?
Well, they're trying to skew for younger audience, that's for sure. Younger Black Americans.
Or
That's
maybe they're
always been
doing
a
it.
problem for NPR.
Maybe they're doing it in Minneapolis because there is no black station in Minneapolis.
Could be
on FM. No commercial stations because there is a non-commercial station there.
Yeah, absolutely.
And then also where you
Maybe
get
there'll be
your
one in
grants from.
Pittsburgh now.
Also where we get your grants from, because traditionally you watch, say PBS on television or radio. This program is brought to you by MacArthur Foundation, things like that. So now you're taking to a whole different level to get people to come on board a whole different format.
And they don't have to worry about trying to get advertisers right away. Professor, in that article, I'm not sure the one you're reading, it had a dollar amount. It was like 500 million, 500,000. It was some number that they had in there.
Okay, well, no, this one comes directly from CPB.
Yes, that's where the money's coming from. Yes.
And this is, and so there's nothing quoted as far as money is concerned, but this is from the CPB website. Yeah.
Well, I'd like to know who's programming it, and they're saying it's going to be on a local basis, so that will come from the local NPR affiliate.
Right, affiliate.
And then what is that person or that staff of people? What is their background and their understanding and success story on urban programming?
Or are they going to run a bunch of syndicated programs like what they do with Fresh Air with Terry Gross, or what's the other lady's name?
I don't know.
She comes. I think Terry Gross, the one that comes on in the morning, that does
on NPR.
Yeah,
yes.
I don't listen to NPR. So I don't know.
You're right, Terry Gross. Yeah.
Yeah, Terry Gross. Okay,
you're
good.
Right.
Dave Johnson put in the comments, sounds like celebrating Black History Month or celebrating Black history.
Right. Mike, have they called you?
I haven't heard a word. I just read it like everybody else, and I have to stay on top of it, for marketing and media sake. So when I saw it, I was like, ooh, that's interesting, and then like the professor.
Bug, have they called you?
Nope.
Dr. Ron.
Did
we wake you up?
My phone was dead. Yeah, my phone was dead. Maybe I got to recharge my phone so I can, hear from them.
Chris, did they call? Did you get a call from NPR, Chris?
Oh, excuse me. No, no, I did not.
Professor, what about you?
Nope. Negative. I just heard about this today, and so I'll look in.
And isn't that crazy how this stuff slips through? I mean, we were talking about something else, and I just threw it out here, and we've expounded, at this level. But it's just really crazy. These little things just kind of just creep by, and nobody says anything. There's nobody says, "Hey, wait a minute, what does that mean?"
Mm-hmm.
Nope. Who's to ask the questions? That's why consolidation. That's why the Telecom Act. All these things that we've been talking about since '96 that has stagnated broadcasting in the urban cycle, has been in a quiet mode because we don't have the platforms to explain it. We don't have the platforms to talk about it. I mean, when it's printed, if you don't read Inside Radio and all access and all the ones that all of us read, you're not going to hear it. I didn't see that in the Wall Street Journal.
That's true.
A lot of people that were once voices in the beginning of the Telecom Act, they've all quit.
Yeah.
All the grant money, all this, they've all quit.
What's the response from Nabob?
Right. That would be a thing. What's his name? Bill Winston?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would be
what's the response? And we don't hear, and like I said, I consider him a dear friend. But once again, we don't have a voice that penetrates the veil.
Mm-hmm.
And we can't seem to get there. Every time we get there, we get tricked, you know. And like I said, this whole thing with the sale that came out today with Nielsen. Once again, you know, they selling Nielsen. Nielsen get ready to be sold. Don't tell nobody. It happens all the time, and it's continuous.
Mm-hmm. So it's an investment firm that's going to buy Nielsen, huh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
nobody else has
It
that
almost
kind of
has
money.
to.
Yeah.
It almost has to be, because who else has the money or access to the money?
Yeah.
And they
Urban One
see
doesn't have the money.
Who?
Heck no.
Urban One.
No. And hell, for that matter, iHeartMedia, or what do they call now?
Yeah, they're iHeart. Entercom is now Odyssey. The thing of it is, and you know, Wall Street came out about a year or two ago and said they weren't lending any more money to that business model. The consolidators coming out of the Telecom Act, that's over. And that's why, you know, going back to David Fields, who's the president, he took over from his dad when it was Entercom, and it's now Odyssey. You know, he's been catching hell over the last couple of days because the company is about to go bankrupt. We don't know it because we haven't seen the spreadsheets, but it's pretty obvious that they're in trouble, and he's denying it. Came out with a story today. That's not what I said. I said we were concerned, and we'll be looking at all the dimes and nickels and quarters that are falling on the floor. You know?
Well, my guess is that he can't say it outright.
He can't. And so it is a you know, because the boardroom. I mean, you can't come out and tell stuff that comes out of the boardroom. That's another part of being, you know, publicly traded.
Didn't Intercom go into private equity?
No.
Oh, they didn't. Oh, they were still
they're publicly traded. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's why they changed their name to Odyssey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's assume that they're close to the edge. Mike, have they called you?
No.
No.
I don't, you know what, to be honest with you, that I don't have the answer. And I thank you for saying that politely. But the thing of it is, there's only one answer. And
but
we know
Mike,
it's not.
You know broadcasting from the front door to the back door. Chances are that you could contribute to the solutions or help them solve some of the problems. You may not be able to do it all, but you have resources that they don't. You can pick up a phone and call people that you know that are experts in certain areas and get the answers. The problem with all of these companies, most of the people who are running these companies haven't even had a radio show.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
Well, that's true.
They've never run a radio station.
Not at all.
They've never been a GM, sales manager, local sales manager, salesperson. Most of them have never been on the front line.
Lee, can I give you something?
Too stupid to listen to the people on the front line. And they're not creative thinkers. They don't know how to come up with new ideas and creativity to entertain the audience. They're all become numbers.
New ideas aren't in right now, though. New ideas, like everybody's.
That's the problem.
Yeah.
You're not going to solve the problem. You're not going to get listeners until you have something creative for them to come. You got to create a magnet. Your radio station has to be a magnet to draw people in. But if your radio station sounds like 1,000 other radio stations, why would I want to listen to yours?
Uh-oh.
Can I throw something in here? How many people on this panel has heard someone elderly in their family say, you can't have your cake and eat it too?
Oh, yeah. Me?
All the time.
Me? That's the problem. The answer that you're talking about, if they called me, you can't have your cake and eat it too. 825 stations is under the umbrella of iHeart. I ain't got to say, give it no false name. 420 stations under Cumulus. So once again, you've bitten off more than you can chew. Okay? Thinking that controlling the business and stifling your competition is going to make you king of the mountain.
Right.
Well, it does but it doesn't guarantee that it's going to be profitable. Elon Musk couldn't have thought he was going to be the only one that was going to have an electric car. Every car maker now has an electric car. He no longer has the lion's share of that. Every car maker, every day, turn on TV, Cadillac, Honda, all of them.
But he made it sexy.
He did make it sexy. You know, I saw the interior of one of those cars from Tesla. It's boring. I don't like it.
It is.
It is boring. I mean, you
And
just
the
look in
seats
there and
are
it's
made
like
of
a TV
plastic.
screens. It's that. Oh my God. I looked at it, Lee, and I was like, what's the,
It is.
what,
It's
what is
bland as
the,
hell.
what's the, it's bland.
But doesn't
Now-
that make it look more futuristic?
What is not a,
But
it's,
that
it's-
does, yeah. But I mean, it looks like a lot of other models that I saw 25 years ago.
it
So
looks better on the
it's-
outside than it does on
it
the
does
inside,
on the inside.
number one.
Yep, it
Number
does.
two, it was all about, it gets into a political piece because it's all about competing with the oil companies.
Uh-oh.
You see? Every time you talk about buying an electric car, they have to tell you about the savings.
Right. You know,
But then-
if I was Exxon Mobil or Shell, I'd be investing in alternative energy.
Electric
Solar
service
power.
stations.
Yeah, I would be
With convenience
all up in
stores
that.
connected to
I
it.
wouldn't give pushback on it. I would say, okay, team, let's go on a 2-week brainstorming session, and all we're going to talk about is how we can integrate into the electric world. Because either we're going to get in it or we're going to get run over by it, because it's going to happen.
There, you and your liberal good way of
It ain't
thinking.
got a damn thing to do with being liberal. It's called smart business.
You know, it's like when MP3s first came out, and record companies fought it tooth and nail, right? Oh no, absolutely not. When they could have just sold them for each song for 99 cents on their website, there wouldn't have been any sharing. Remember all the Napsters and all that? They lost millions and millions and millions because they fought it instead of just saying and going with, like you said, riding the wave and going with the flow.
They
But
shouldn't
they
have tried to
they
put
never did that.
Napster. They shouldn't have tried to put Napster out of business. They should have bought it.
But I want to go
bought
back.
that
I want to go back to
and
what,
control it and change the direction. That's why they could have said, okay, look, we're going to charge you 59 cents per download. Most people would have rolled with that. They would have been so far
probably
ahead
would
of the
have.
game. Yeah.
But look
And
at
their
this.
cost
Look
would
at
have
this
been
right
down,
here,
too.
Lee and Bug. Look at this.
Let me just put a cap on that. When they shut down Napster, 25 other Napsters popped up.
Okay, thank you.
Right? So
That's it.
You didn't stop
But
nothing.
then I'm
You
gonna
made
go
it
back. I
spread
want to go back another step
like a
after
virus.
that. Okay, going back to what Bug just said. Okay, now all of a sudden they want you to play or listen to the product, but now you know the record company game was to send out a very attractive person to get you to play the record and add it. Okay. When that became expensive, what was the first thing they did? They started sending you MP3s. The thing that they were fighting, they used that to save money.
That's right.
Everything in these processes and situations that we're talking about, the end game is always money. At the end of the day, at the height of the electric car, they had to come up. The government had to step in and create these things where you could go and charge the car. The moment the government did it, then all of the Costco's and all of them, all the stores start putting electric outlets. So while you're in there shopping, you could charge your car.
Yep.
For
Right
free.
here at the hotel I'm staying in right now, there must be, I'm going to say 6, 7, 8, 15 to 18 charging stations.
Easy.
And when I go out to walk my dogs, any time of the day or night, it's at least 5 people sitting in their Teslas, mostly, charging up.
Charging up.
So you know what? I can't do that. I'm not going to go park somewhere and charge my car for an hour.
Or
You
go
know,
in the store. You got to go in there.
Yeah.
All the stores have them. You got to
Now
go in the
these-
store.
these people are sitting in their cars playing music while they're
Waiting on the car to charge up.
charging car.
Yeah, but if you're going into the store anyway,
Yeah, but I'm talking about midnight, 1 a.m. They're out here charging cars.
And then the government had to step in and create charging parks.
Yeah.
So now they got charging parks.
So the money is going to be made in those charging stations. Yeah. You know, when they become like Walgreens and on every other corner, that's when it's ready.
Well, the
and
problem
when
is
it gets at least 500 miles to charge, because I can't do 200.
The problem is that eventually, if everybody, like California's trying to get all new car sales with gasoline engines banned, right? So by 2020 something,
2030, I think it is.
Whatever the 2030,
2020,
yeah,
2030.
No new car sales
right.
with gasoline engines. But here's the problem. You know how it is on a real hot day, especially in like Texas and not necessarily here in Georgia, but a lot of places that get really, really hot, and everybody's got their AC on. And what do they tell you? We got to have rolling blackouts because the power grid can't handle all the electric demand. So what happens if everybody's got electric vehicles? The money's going to be into how to generate more electricity. So I don't know how that works.
It's called infrastructure upgrade.
Right.
You got to build bigger, better power stations to handle the load. So as those summer months come and everybody's got the air conditioning running, and then you got 500,000 cars charging up at the same time on the same grid, you better be ready to handle that. So
those things are high current too.
Yeah,
hey,
those things are high current.
Can you put up Jed's last comment at 9:29 p.m.? A cousin of mine had a wall adapter and said it took a day to get enough to go to a charging station, so he got rid of it. The other thing is, I had a friend of mine who was telling me about how high the bill is. Because first of all, to put you have your own charging thing in your garage.
Yeah.
Okay. That's about $1,200 to $2,400, depending on the extent that you get of it.
Right.
The only people,
some of them are not that high, but yeah.
Some of them are not. Somewhere
between one that charges fast, half hour, or something. Those are more expensive.
Those are more expensive. The only people who agree with those are the ones who have solar power. So now you got to go back.
But see, that's what the government is trying to do. He's trying to make people go off the grid by creating more solar power, alternative energies, so that people can conveniently use their electric vehicles without, the demand on petroleum products.
Yeah, if you have solar panels on your house, for example, and you have these lithium batteries or even the charging stations that Tesla and some of the others have built, when you're not charging, the sun is downloading that energy into batteries.
Yes.
So when you go plug in, you're not using electric from the grid, you're using electric stored on your batteries.
Well, something's interesting, though. I read an article that talked about Japan and how Japan is trying to do the same thing, go towards electric vehicles and this and that. But here's a big but, right? Guess where Japan gets most of electricity from? Most of its electricity.
Coal. Right.
And gas and natural gas. But coal. So it's like you're talking about lowering greenhouse emissions from gasoline powered engines, but yet you're using coal to produce electricity. So you're not really solving the problem.
Exactly. It's not an overnight, quick fix or solution. They're going to have to use these alternative. I mean, the sun is going to be up there for as long as we can think, hopefully. But you got hydropower, wind, solar. So all of these things can be done. We just got to amp up, upgrade your infrastructure to integrate those types into your your solution.
Lee, you also live in California, so you could get a hydrogen car.
Yeah, they're out there.
But
Absolutely.
they're only in California, which is the crazy part because they're the only ones with the.
Is that right? I didn't know
the
that, but I know.
stations,
Yeah, and I don't know how many. Who makes a hydrogen car now? I don't know.
You know, I forgot. Maybe Toyota makes one. I can't remember. I saw an article on it not too long ago. But when I saw you can only get them in California, I was like, well, that doesn't help.
I saw an article on the forthcoming electric Escalade from Cadillac, and they're talking about like $250,000. Well, let me tell you this: my limo company will not have Escalades. For an electric Escalade, it ain't gonna happen. I can't justify that cost. In order for me to buy a car for $250,000 and put it out on the road to pick people up and drop them off at the airport and pick them up at the airport, take them to the Oscars and I'd have to charge them $5,000 a ride. And who's going to do that?
Yeah, but that was a problem though. When hybrids first came out, you could get 50 miles or 40 something miles to the gallon, but it's going to cost you 20,000 more than the regular version when you buy it up front. So how long is it going to take you to recoup that additional expense up front? So basically, what it ended up being, you pay instead of paying for it over the long haul of your ownership of the car, you just pay for it all up front. So it wasn't really worth it until the price.
See, when Tesla came out. In the beginning, they had a deal where if you buy a Tesla, you'd have free charging forever. So if I bought one of those cars, I think that was pre-2017, and I sell it to Bug, that doesn't follow the car.
Oh, wow.
So it dies when I sell it. Now you have to pay for charging.
Wow. That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
And that deal no longer exists. I think maybe a couple of years ago they stopped.
But no, a friend of mine has a Tesla, and she doesn't have to pay for charging if she goes to the Tesla chargings.
If she goes
a year or two ago.
Yeah, a couple of years ago, I think that since then they've stopped that deal. You can't get.
But I'm saying her car is only like a year or two old.
No, but if you go to the charging park, you don't pay. That's
no, not anymore.
When did they change that?
If you bought I think a 2021 or 22, you don't get that free charging anymore.
Wow,
whether it's a Tesla or not. Yeah, but when did they buy the car?
She said it's only like a year or two old. The car itself.
Check. See exactly when they bought it, because one of my friends went to Tesla in the last 6 months, and they said that's no longer available. You don't get the free charge.
I'm texting her now.
Yeah. Or where's the professor? Professor likes to Google. We could Google that and see what Tesla is offering now. But from what I understand, that free charging no longer exists, not even at their charging stations. Because, they got to make money, and they're giving away all that free energy.
Yeah. And that's probably because it's no longer going to be supplemented by the government. Those charging parks were supplemented by the government.
Right.
Yeah.
So you pay $120,000 for a Tesla now.
They have some cheaper Teslas. Like the lowest one, I think, is like 40-something thousand.
Yeah, and that started out at 35.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, it did. Probably. Yeah, first the little one was that the Model 3.
3,
yeah. It just started out at 35, and that was a strip down. But by the time you put, the autopilot in it, that's another $12,000.
Wow.
Yeah. It's not cheap.
But though,
and then they got the regular battery and then the enhanced battery. So that's another.
A lot of Uber drivers are leasing them from Tesla, from Uber.
Hertz.
Or is it through Hertz? It might be through Hertz, but they're releasing them through Uber.
It's a rental. It's a rental program.
Rental, right?
Yes.
Not lease. Rental. Thank you.
Yeah. My radio friend.
So they don't have to pay for gas.
Yeah. My friend Armando Rivera had to. He didn't have to, but he rented one for about almost 2 months, I think it was, because his transmission in his gas car went out, and he loved it, and I think he was saying it would cost him anywhere from $12 to $20 to charge up fully. But you know, at the same time, invariably, when you're out there doing Uber and Lyft and something like that. Oh, by the way, if you rent one for Uber, you can't drive Lyft in that car.
What?
Yes, yes. It's a Uber only deal through Hertz. So, but he found that the monthly charge was $500 or $600 a week. So the first, let's say it's $600 with the taxes and insurance and all that, and the rental fee, $600. The first $600 you make goes to cover that. You don't make anything out of that first $600.
But you don't have to pay for gas.
Directly to that. Yeah, but you still got to pay for the charging.
You're giving them all your profit.
Yeah. So he went from anywhere from $1,800 to $2,200 a week in his gas car, and it dropped down to not even $1,500 when he went into this electric car. He got double hit. He got the extra cost of the Tesla, plus they changed the algorithm in Uber, which kept sending him long rides, 18 minutes to get to the ride, and then a 45 or 50-minute ride. And through all of that, he may have ended up making $40. So it took him an hour and a half to make $40, wherein before he could do a lot of short rides, get the bonuses, and make $1,800 to $2,200 a week. Now he's not able to do that. So the advantage in renting an electric car to do Uber is not that good.
It ain't no advantage.
No.
No, it seems like you're still being the red. Like I was listening to everybody on the panel, and I went to online to say what percentage of new car sales are electric in 2022. In the overall market share, the U.S. hit a historic 4.6% and rising at this point for electric cars. So then you got to figure again what Mike Love said about the government with the stations and everything else. Will this provide more accessibility to charge it up? Because you might be forced to buy your own and keep it in your garage and pay that hefty bill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have to at some point, I think, if you're doing a lot of driving, if you're driving 50, 60 miles a day, round trip to
go to work or whatever you're doing.
Yeah. You're going to want to charge that thing up at night before you go to bed.
Absolutely.
So when you wake up in the morning, it's fully charged. So if you're traveling, see, here's my problem. To go from Los Angeles to Las Vegas, you got to stop in a Tesla because you don't get, I think they claim 330 miles, but that's not real because once you put the air conditioning on, your lights and other electric, you're charging your phone and all of that takes that mileage down.
Well, how many miles is it from Vegas to LA?
Well, from the airport to where I used to live in Vegas, it was 278 miles, road miles. The halfway point around Baker, no, it was, what's that town up there? Not Baker. Anyway, it's about halfway, about 2 hours into the drive, there's a charging station. And then about 45 minutes away from Vegas, there's another one. Outside of that, on Interstate 15, I've never seen any more than just those two. So it's getting better now, but if you wanted to go from Vegas to Denver, for example, once you get up there in those mountains in Colorado and parts of Utah, ain't no charging stations around there.
That's what Jed just said. You can put that up.
Yeah. So, when you're traveling, especially cross country, you really got to pay attention to that. In the Teslas, and I'm assuming in some of the other electric brands, it has a map that will tell you where the nearest charging station is.
Yeah, they got a map. Yeah. You can even Google it. Yeah.
Yeah. So assuming that that charging station is available and working, Victorville. Now what's the town after Victorville? Because they've got charging stations there. Or is that the one? Is that between Victor and Barstow? I think it's right there at Barstow.
So what do you do if you're on the road and you get to the charging station and there's no free charges. You guys just sit around and wait for somebody else to get out of the way.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
That's
If there,
more
yeah,
time.
it's just like going to a gas station. You know, you got to wait in line,
Yeah.
but
If all the
it's
pumps
not
are-
it's not a 10 or 15 minute wait. You know, for some, you know,
especially if you run all your electricity out the damn car.
That's right. That's right. So yeah, it has some problems. It really
I
does.
see. That's why I like the idea of a hybrid instead, like that Honda Insight, which they're going to stop making, by the way. It gets 50 something miles to the gallon. I'm like, now that's what I'm talking about right there.
I had a 2016 Malibu Hybrid, and I really liked that car because it wasn't a hybrid that you had to plug in. While you were driving, it would put energy back into the batteries in the car. So there were certain times when you were running off the battery power. So when that got low, it started putting energy back into it, and in that in between times, it was burning gas. Nice car. I really liked that car a lot. It did blow a rod.
So how many miles to the gallon did you get?
It was pretty close to 40.
Well, that's not too bad.
Yeah,
Not bad.
for a mid-sized car. You know, wasn't a
Hey,
little
If
ugly
your
ass
Toyota Priuses
BMW.
weren't so, if the Toyota Priuses weren't so ugly, they would have been
I
a
hate
great
those
car.
cars. I know,
They're just
I
so
hate them.
ugly.
Ugly,
Goodness.
but
And they
ugly.
make them ugly on purpose. That's what's so
I
bad.
know. And people love those cars. I don't know why.
They want them to stand out. I think that's why.
No,
they
I
do.
want a 50 millimeter cannon on my car so I can shoot them. I hate those cars. They're butt ugly.
Dr. Ron, would you drive an electric car?
Well, yeah, I probably would, and the reason just to have the experience of having it. You know, I
rent
know
one.
that. Yeah, I know that people have been experimenting and trying to perfect the quality of electric cars for a while now. But you have to look at one thing in all the conversations that we're saying. We are on the threshold of technology that's going to evolve for the future. Everything,
question.
you know, that's being developed, the solar panels, the charging stations, everything that is futuristic, we are witnessing it before our eyes. You know, so all these things are going to have trial and error. They're going to have problems. They're going to have, you know, issues until they get the bugs worked out of it. But if you think about it, 100 years ago, people said that, you know, the automobile would never make it. Horse and buggies are going to be here forever. Come on now, you
The
know.
horseless carriage.
Yeah, you know. So, you know, when we talk about it, and I'm listening to the conversation in general about all of the bugs and all of the problems that are there. But this president that we have that we were bitching and moaning about, you missed the button, earlier in the conversation.
Wake up, lay down.
You know, he just signed an infrastructure bill to be able to develop more economical energy outlets for the environment. Okay, he just signed it, so now it's going into format. He's talking about retirement, y'all. Don't let him take that slide down.
I'm putting this up here, and I'm gonna give you a reason why. But go ahead and finish your comment.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, you know, we have the pleasure and the opportunity to see the beginning phases of what's happening with the energy switchover. And in response to your question, Mike Love, yes, I would drive it just for the experience of it, just so I can see what it's like now, and 10 years from now, see what it's like, you know, and maybe 20 years from now, see how much it has evolved.
Absolutely.
Or I guarantee you, it's going to evolve.
Yes,
but because it has to in order for it to exist into the future. It's got to keep growing, just like gasoline engines or anything else. The picture I'm showing you here is an alternative to, well, it's a form of more affordable living. This is a company called Airstream, and I'm showing you a version of the 33-foot travel trailer, as it's called. This company has been around 90 years. 75% of every one of these things that's been made, have different sizes, is still on the road.
Or in
There are
somebody's
no-
backyard and grandma live in it.
Well, that's true. That too. But they're still being used today. 75% of every one that's been made over the last 90 years. Now, how many car companies can say that? How many other RV companies can say that? None. None. So when whatever you buy quality. Buy something that has legs to be around for a long time. You can finance that vehicle right there, that RV, for 20 years.
How much does it cost, Mr. Michaels?
That one is about 109 to 115,000.
Is that all?
I'm sorry, 209 to 215 if I
That's a
remember.
little bit of money. Whatever.
But yeah, but what can you get? And then you can travel with this. You can, you're not stuck. You go and pay 500,000 or whatever for a house today. You can't move. You got to sell it
Now
in
you
order
got
to
to
move.
tell the expenses that go along with this thing. You got to pay to dump. You got to pay to get propane. You got to
Well,
pay,
yeah.
to get shore power.
It's called utilities.
It's all sorts of expenses that go along with this thing.
That's
you
true.
know, and it may have been around for 90 years as a manufacturer, but the technology in motor coaches has changed tremendously itself.
Oh yeah.
You
You can
know,
buy a motor
so
coach for $2 million.
yeah.
Yeah.
You can deck it out.
Yeah.
Just as all the P Diddy's and whatever they call themselves nowadays, that have
Yep.
those things, and they, I tell you,
Is the motor coach
Gladys,
a tour bus?
yes,
More or less, yeah.
yeah. Gladys Knight has one, and she won't fly. If she can't drive there, she ain't going. And it goes.
Aretha was
everywhere.
like that.
Yeah, she's absolutely like that. There are some people that just will not do it.
But
And
it's
those
worth
things,
it, and they can
it's
afford it.
decked
Yeah.
out. You hear me? You got
you take your
satellite, big screen TVs, everything, computer,
You can
everything.
drink.
Not if you're driving
yeah.
it.
Yeah, well, she ain't
you-
driving.
They got drivers. You ain't got to worry
Yeah,
about
look, they
that.
got
If you
drivers.
Gladys
Right.
Knight or Aretha,
Yeah.
It's your home on wheels. Your
Right.
environment doesn't change. You go from hotel to hotel. Every one of them is going to be different to some degree.
But
Yeah.
Ron made an excellent point. Sorry, Lee. Ron made an excellent point though about innovation and accepting it. And I agree with him 100%. We have to get ourselves prepared for this. It's coming. And we have to
like
start
a snowball rolling down a snow-covered hill. It's growing.
Man, say that again. It's
Right?
coming. Okay. And you
Wait,
can't
wait,
stop.
Mike. Bug, where did that line come from?
Which one?
Like a snowball rolling down a snow-covered hill. It's growing.
It's growing. Who was that?
I don't know. Is
group?
that from the 20s?
No, that's a group.
No.
Boy, what a bonehead.
I can't.
Look,
which was
read the chat.
What
Bud.
year was that?
Temptations,
Chat.
man.
Yeah,
I have
read
this.
the
I have
chat.
us full screen.
Oh, the
I haven't seen
Temptations.
that.
Okay, I knew. I mean, come on. Yeah,
We gave you the title. It's growing. That was the name of the song.
it was growing.
So-
Like how would I? Yeah. How would I know anything else?
You know, Buck
You
only
never
about
played a
17.
Temptations record. You don't know the history of the Temptations. They're not in your iPod. They're not in your phone.
It ain't got
Oh
nothing to do
God,
with hip hop. He ain't listening.
you have no soul, brother.
Look, you should have seen the look on his face when I said P. Diddy. I took him
Right.
back so far, he was ready to slap me. What? P. Diddy?
Have y'all seen P.
know what
Diddy lately?
You know what I was going to say of substance
Uh-huh.
was, I bet you in 100 years they're going to look back and ask the question, why did we not jump on the whole solar thing a long time ago? Because I predict within 100 years or so, everything's going to be solar, and people aren't going to have to pay for all this electricity. I mean, it's like it's through the air and it's free. What the hell? Why is nobody developing
say
it?
that? Because Obama initiative put that out there during his
Yep.
administration.
Yeah,
That
it's like
was
it's
the very
silly.
first wave of solar energy initiatives, and with government funding.
Because fossil fuel didn't want it. They didn't embrace
And
it.
right,
If
and
they
cars.
had,
Hey, cars could be solar powered. It just doesn't make any sense.
I agree.
Go
Go ahead,
ahead,
Professor.
Whoops. Okay, listen. That solar power, that's great. But well, what about in Alaska?
Well, yeah, you got sun
They
up there.
got Sarah Palin. They don't need
Oh,
solar
hold on.
power.
I got you. Go ahead, Lee. What about in Alaska?
They have sun in Alaska.
There's no sun there. It's
For 6
shit.
months, it's dark.
Well, that's problematic, but the other 6 months is day at midnight.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so yeah, it's a problem depending on your geographical location. Like in
Yeah.
Chicago,
So that mean everybody won't get it. It'll be a great.
well, hold on a
choice.
second.
well,
In Alaska, during the certain parts of the year, it's
daytime
sunny
all day,
all day long, so they
Yeah.
can be storing that energy up in batteries.
and you learn how to use the energy more effectively. You know, you don't just like my wife will turn on 3 TVs in the house, and they're running 24 hours a day, even when she's asleep.
Oh
So,
my goodness!
But
yeah, I mean,
but-
the television is watching her sleep.
but
So you'll learn.
yeah.
So if you're in a situation where your water is limited, if you're in a travel trailer or motor coach, and that coach only has 50 or 75 gallons of water,
You're not
you
gonna
will
be
learn
wasting
how
it.
to take a shower and not have the shower running for the 15 minutes that you're showering.
Yeah.
You-
Turn it
you
on
turn
before you get in there, then brush your teeth,
right.
gargle. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And go flush the toilet and get back
Right.
in.
How to conserve.
So
in
you
other
learn
words.
how to use it better, more
Yeah,
effectively.
and technology, like in a place like Alaska, you may not be able to go 100% off the grid. Okay, if you got 6 months worth of daylight where you can store battery, you still have the main grid available for source
Yeah,
to help you.
still going to have electric, or you
Exactly.
could use wind,
Right.
windmills.
And
So you have a
so,
combination.
yes, they call them
And when I put that picture up there of the travel trailer, you can put it comes with solar panel on it, but you can also increase the number of solar panels, which increases the volume of electric that you send down to your batteries. Now, this particular one comes with 2 batteries that gives you a couple of 100 watt hours of usage, but you can add 8 or 10 more batteries to it, and you can add 4 or 5 more panels up, which means you're receiving more energy, storing more energy, and allows you to run more electrical devices in your travel trailer or your home.
Do you
Same
all
thing
hear
with say again?
I say, y'all hear that? He didn't put a whole lot of thought into this.
Man, that thing gonna be heavy. Talking about he didn't need what's the truck with 2 wheels on the back?
A dually.
A dually. You gonna need a
No,
dually.
I'm not gonna need a
plus
dually.
one.
No, dually I don't need. Maybe a Silverado 250, was it 2500? That'll pull 14,000 pounds.
You're gonna need a 53-inch tractor trailer to pull.
No. The travel trailer loaded is about 10,000 pounds, so it's not,
Okay.
it's not crazy.
All right, but the more wheels you have on the front end, the more stable your trailer will be. So when you go down the highway and your trailer goes past you at 80 miles an hour, damn, that look just like mine.
But you know what you say then? Damn, somebody's in trouble down the road.
Yeah, down the road, somebody go get it.
I'm gone.
And I hope your wife ain't sitting in there watching them 4 TVs she got on.
No, you can't have people in the trailer
you're not
when you're rolling.
but
Oh, you can't be in the back when you're rolling?
Nope.
Motor coach you can, with travel trailer no.
No.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because if that thing, boy, that would be a disaster.
Yeah, it's a safety issue.
People do that all the
breaks loose.
time. You know what they ain't supposed to do. You know?
Right.
You know what's funny though?
Yeah.
Those speaking of motorhome, what station was Power 96 in Miami back in the 2000s, the early 2000s? They had 2 tour buses with Power 96. That was their station's vehicles.
You
2
got wrapped.
tour
Got
buses.
wrapped on it, yeah.
Yeah, with Power 96 blasted all over the side. I had never seen anything like that. I'm like, that's big time right there.
Yeah, I had a big promotional budget.
Big time.
Or they got a company to donate them and they just wrapped them. That's what they do. People don't
maybe.
buy them anymore. You know, sometimes people donate them, they lease them out to them, and they wrap them, you know, and then they talk about them when they're doing promotions every time they go somewhere. This
But
bus
just
was
the
donated
look
by.
of it, though. But
Yeah,
the look
yeah.
was so.
And the
It's
cost.
look, it's who you have negotiating your agreement
deal,
with people.
yeah.
Yeah. You
Yeah, I
know.
mean, it's just like these stadiums now. You know, the AT&T Stadium or
They put
Sprint or
your
whatever.
name on them for 10
Yeah,
years.
yeah, exactly. So they basically pay for building that stuff out because of the fees that they get from it.
Well, and also too, that station had, they were number 1 or number 2 back then.
For a
and
long
now
time.
they got a 1.7 shares, like, and they're happy
Oh,
with
they
it.
don't have that bus because diesel fuel nowadays is $5-6 a gallon.
Absolutely.
Oh, are they all diesel? They all run on
Yeah,
diesel?
yeah, pretty
Yeah,
much.
those are motor coaches. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most of them. Detroit
Yeah.
Diesels. That's the favorite.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. See, when I Bug, when I had the yacht, diesel fuel was 99 cents a gallon.
Wow.
Yeah, and I had 1,000-gallon tank. So
Wow.
even then,
Oh, goodness.
even then, I was dropping $1,000 a day if I was traveling.
1,000 gallons.
That would be 4,000 or 5,000 today. Same boat, same fuel. Just the cost of fuel has gone up that much since.
That's when you start renting it out and having those parties.
You have to.
Making
Yeah.
money.
Hold on,
You know.
Lee. This is probably a rhetorical question, but did you have a plane too?
No. There have been many times when I said, was it smart to buy the boat or should I have bought a plane? And I had that conversation with Tom Joyner, and he opted to buy a plane, and it made sense for what he ended up doing, being the fly jock. He couldn't be the boat jock going from Dallas to Chicago every day.
Is there a river going?
Yeah, Mississippi River.
But you know what was interesting about being the fly jock, which I thought was a very innovative move for him.
Yeah.
Nobody ever saw the plane. Most of the time, he flew in the private fields.
Yeah.
And that would have been, I think that would have been even the next level if people could have seen him be actually the fly jock.
Yeah.
You see
I saw it a couple
of
of times. He used to fly into a private airport down in Florida when I was living down there. And you could identify his plane because he was a big fan of the Tuskegee red tails. So the tail on his plane was painted red. And you can track a plane by its ID number on the side of it, commercial or private. Some people have figured out how to cover that private number, but my son, he could see every time Tom Joyner took off and where it went. He would call me and say, "Yeah, Tom is in Panama today."
Did either of those
How the hell
stations,
you know that? Huh?
Did either of those radio stations, Dallas or Chicago, pay for, or at least partially pay for the travel expenses, or was that just what he did and he just?
No, I think that's what Tom did.
No, that was on his own. He bought a annual pass from American Airlines when he was going back and forth. So whatever that cost, and then when he stopped flying, they gave him a seat from the plane.
Yeah.
So that was kind of their thank you.
Yeah, he got that. I think it was from Southwest or one of them. Because his studios were next to the ABC radio network, and when you go in, the seat that they gave him was right there.
Yeah.
Right. Go ahead, Reggie.
When did he start? When did he go into ISDN? When did he start using that technology too?
Well, I think from almost day one as a backup plan in case there was weather problems and what have you. And but I think it was maybe 2 or 3, maybe 4 years into it, then he started using it more often. When I was at GCI as a program director, Tom would call up and say, "Hey, man, they canceled the plane." No, he would have his wife call and say, "Yeah, he's not going to be there today because they canceled his flight." Well, you know me and my smart ass. I'd call the airline because we knew the flight number. Every day it's the same number that he would use. I said, "Was this flight canceled?" That's all. No, it's in the air. So he just didn't want to come in, and that's cool, you know. But yeah, then he bought a limo, stretch limo. I don't think it was a real long stretch, if I remember correctly. I want to say it was one of those Lincolns. And he had a driver to pick him up at the airport in Chicago to bring him to the radio station. And the deal, from what I understand, with that driver was, when I'm not here, you can use the car to do other things with it. And that's how that driver made his money, I guess. So, I mean, Tom was a very smart business guy, very smart. Now,
Innovative.
how that came about, the whole fly jock thing, he was negotiating with Dallas for a new contract. And Marv Dyson, in his wisdom, contacted Tom and says, "Look, why don't you, I want you to come do mornings up here in Chicago." So he had two stations interested in him doing mornings. So he talked to Marv and talked Marv into doing afternoons in the station in Dallas. He was doing mornings. Now, I don't think Marv knew that he was going to try to do both at that time. So after he signed the contract with both, then he told him, say, "Hey, look, by the way."
Yeah, what could they do?
Yeah, right.
Yeah, after 10 o'clock, you can't tell me what to do.
Exactly.
Outside of production.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's
They're probably
that's
not
the
happy
inside
at first,
story.
though, were they?
Yeah, they were a little unhappy in the beginning, but it worked. So don't fight.
And they weren't owned by consolidators at that time. And that's kind of how we started this conversation.
Yeah.
With and thank you with kind words you said, Lee. Understanding, you know, the situations that have developed for radio over the course of time and made them super expensive. You know, all of these, the reason that these consolidators are having their biggest problems are the leasehold agreements, where they put studios in bank buildings and towers and different places like that.
Yep.
When you do what they call a leasehold agreement, it's a mortgage. You can't get out of it. It's just like buying a house for 30 years. So all of a sudden, you're cutting the staff, and you got 4 or 5 studios in here and only 3 people working. So the expense doesn't go away. And it's probably a waste of money. And it's probably the highest expense out of any of the radio stations that they have, is where they're located.
Yeah. And a lot of these stations had 20,000, 25,000 square feet of office space. And then when COVID kicked in, they went, shit, we don't need this anymore.
So the station I was working at here a few years ago, they bought
just in case.
They
it was about a 5-minute delay.
The two companies that owned these two stations merged, CBS Radio and Intercom, and then became Intercom, and then now it's Odyssey. But they had a station. One of the companies had a station that was right near the new ballpark in Atlanta. So not really nice area, and the studios were built by ABC back in the day. So these were state-of-the-art facilities, like, I mean, unbelievably nice studios. Well, the building they were in was practically empty. So everybody thought we're going to get to go move up there with the white folks is, and those real nice studios. Oh, yeah. No. They moved them down to the ghetto where we were and paid 2 mortgages. And our lease was up. So nobody could understand, except then we find out that the general manager has a condo right behind the station.
Oh, that could have been part of his deal.
You think?
Yeah.
So he's like, I ain't coming.
Yeah. Exactly.
But it's unfortunate that radio has gotten to this point. I mean, you got a program out now called Cloud.radio, and it's a studio in a browser. You can literally go in, do 16 segments for your daily show. You can move the waveform so it'll hit the post if you want to do that, and it's a done deal. Nobody
What's
has
it called?
Cloud.radio, I think.
Cloud
Yeah.
Radio.
Yeah.
It's slick.
So, as a
I
matter
saw
of
it at
fact,
the NAB.
yeah, as a matter of fact, it will also do, it'll transcribe. So if you're the PD and you want to find out what Bug said, you don't even have to listen. You can go in there and it transcribes the whole 9 yards. I mean, it's
wow.
the innovation, going back to what Dr. Ron was talking about, that we really need to be paying attention to, is what's killing everything. Because most of the people who were creating the next level of our lives have let the innovation come back and be their worst enemy. Because they're over leveraged from where they started.
That's deep.
That's deep, ain't it?
Yeah,
You over leveraged from where you started to move into the future that you can't afford.
That's deep. That's deep.
By the way, my friend hit me back with a Tesla, who does get free charging. Hers is a 22.
Okay. Yeah.
So, they still do give free charging.
Yeah, I thought the parks did, but like I said, I don't keep up with it. I just wasn't. I saw the inside of that car. Was taking a young lady home, and she said she had a Tesla. I said, "Can I look on the inside?" And I mean, it was bland. It was like Jello with no color. You know, it was just, I was like, and all it had was the screen sitting in the middle with 5,000 fingerprints on it.
Like peanut butter with no jelly.
Hey,
like
Mike.
peanut butter with no jelly.
Hey, Mike.
Yes, sir.
What's your rap on Tom Hicks?
Tell me what Tom Hicks, as in
being with the Maze Boys.
Being with the Maze Boys?
Yeah. As far as, okay, this is my understanding that Tom Hicks, with his relationship with the Maze Boys, they was like,
you talking about like Lori Mays? You know, when I'm thinking,
the Maze brothers. You know, when they started the Clear Channel thing, because
out of San Antonio,
right? Because Tom Hicks, they say, is the father of private equity investments.
Could be.
Yeah, you know, and I wanted to know your take on this cat.
I think it was a smart move. They just got greedy.
Mm-hmm.
That's all. You know, it just became a greed move. They did not need to own 825 radio stations. They got when they started, they had 1,400. And they saw trying to run 1,400 radio stations across the country was literally impossible. So the number got cut down to 825. They got more control over it. But see, the slick part, boy, I tell you know, it's the N word you love to hate.
We are talking about iHeart, correct?
Well, we're talking about all of them pretty much do the same thing. But yes, iHeart 825, Cumulus 425, Intercom's over 100 somewhere, Radio One's over 60, 70, somewhere in that range. Okay. So, you know, once again, when you get to a level that you can't run it, you have to think, okay, why am I buying more? That's what we don't know. What kept them going for more and more and more?
Because radio at that time was spinning off anywhere from 40 to 60% margins of profit.
Oh, yeah.
So they were projecting that we can continue these margins and increase it over the next 10, 15, 20 years, which was unrealistic. When you pay $400 million for a radio station, you will never make that
your money.
You're never going to make it back.
No, you could have 2 bad books and you're on the downslide for a long time.
Well, they were trying to monopolize the market.
Changes all the time. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. That was the name of the game. It was greed. They were trying to monopolize the markets. They wanted to be in control, and not just because they wanted to have their hands around somebody's neck, but it was really the Wall Street and the ad agencies, because the ad agencies were sending out what they called dictates.
No urban dictates. I got that. I got that.
When Hyundai and all the foreign companies came, the first thing they said was no black programming.
Right.
So
Don't
they were
advertise
trying,
on black radio.
don't advertise on black radio.
Mercedes, BMW, all of them.
Yeah. So
Even Cadillac for a while.
yeah, so they weren't even thinking about the greed at that level. They were thinking about the control. How do we control this so they don't call us and tell us what they not gonna do? What you not gonna do?
And see, one of the, well, it's 1,000 things that they screwed up on. But when they go in and buy 8, 10 stations in the market, what was unique about those stations that had?
I found this on the web.
I didn't ask you for nothing.
Alexa said, "Let me get in
Shut
on
up.
some of this."
So you bought 8 stations in a given market. Well, what happened? You had 8 general managers. You had 8 national sales managers. You had 8 local. You had 8 program directors. You had 8 programming departments, promotion departments. You had 32 people or so for each one of those radio stations. So the first thing they tried to do is consolidate the manpower. So, okay, let's take one general manager, run all 8 stations, one sales manager, et cetera, et cetera. So you just took jobs that were working, performing, making 10, 15, $20 million per station. Impossible to have one person manage all of that, all those moving parts. That was a mistake.
Yeah,
That was bullshit, what it was.
that's when they was at the 1400 level.
Yeah, exactly. So by the time they got down to the 825 or whether it's still the same thing, they cut out the creativity. So they've got a vice president of
It got
programming.
worse. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
They got a vice president of programming sitting in the corporate office making the decision for 200 or 300 radio stations per format. Bad idea. What they did was shot themselves in the head and killed regional differences. So they're saying that, well, listen, we'll add this song to all 25 or 100 stations in that particular format, and that's easy for the guy up there in the corporate office. It's easy for the program director to accept that ad without having any input. So you might be adding a song that would never work in New Orleans. It might work in Chicago or New York, LA maybe, but it may not jive in New Orleans. And so those regional differences were ignored and kicked to the side. You know, Zalico and the Southern blues and stuff like that. It's hard to find now on the radio.
They got eliminated.
It's February, Black History.
You know,
It killed the culture.
yeah.
And they don't care. They don't care.
Right.
But that's what's killing radio today.
Right.
It's that unique differences in the regional areas and local creativity.
Right.
A program
Elimination of
director today,
localism.
yeah, a program director today in Mobile, Alabama can't add a damn new show without the sign off of the national
Without
directors.
corporate office.
Period.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a study that was prepared by the Civil Rights Forum on Communications Policy. And I happened to meet this investigator that did the story. His name is Kofi Asedu Afori. And he wrote this article. I mean, he got the grant money to do this. It's called When Being Number One Is Not Enough. And it was the impact of advertising practices on minority-owned and minority-formatted broadcast stations. You know, they were intentionally not giving Black radio the money. You know, if it was $100 on a majority-owned station or majority ethnic group station, it was $70 for Black people for a Black station. And so this study is still available and it's documented, and it's called When Being Number One Is Not Enough. That's like when I first went to Howard, right? After I got my master's degree, like I was on fire on what what was going on and what was happening as far as what radio is concerned, and why we couldn't get any holds on it, or why we weren't getting any money within it. And so I got tons of studies, tons of academic works on this from a lot of guys. And one of the greatest guys that I had came across was his name. He was a professor at the University of Pennsylvania. His name was C. Edwin Baker. This cat was prolific on how he was talking about the business model of what radio was doing and how the monies was going on. Because I was like involved with a lot of people that we were still going through that battle of the public interest versus the private interest, And you guys know that all you guys that's been in the commercial thing, y'all was out for that French girl, Monet. And that's what the business was about. But the business of radio was founded on the public interest. And the public interest through deregulation and through all this stuff, those were the things that was buried. So this is what this thing, and it all started with the elimination of the fairness doctrine. What was that boy's name that came up under, he was President Reagan's FCC commissioner. I can't think of his name.
Yeah, I've skipped my mind as well.
Fowler,
but I know
Mark Fowler.
Yep.
Okay, but see, the Demcom set it up, with whatever they was doing, because Jimmy Carter.
Peanut Man.
Yeah, when Peanut Man set it up for all the login requirements and all that stuff to be wiped out.
I thought that was under Reagan. That wasn't.
No, Reagan finished it.
Okay.
But JC set it up.
Yeah, they call themselves relaxing it.
Yeah, that's what they did. And then Ronnie went on and let Fowler get in there, and Fowler said that radio is nothing but a product. It's a toaster. And so one of the things that Marv Dyson used to say, I used to love it because I was, I would listen to him, and Marv would say, well, what's the difference of buying a Cadillac in Chicago and a Cadillac in Florida?
Taxes.
It's a product.
That's it.
And that's the same thing. That's the same thing with radio. And I used to love back in the day going to the cool jazz festivals in Atlanta. I used to love that when the cigarette companies used to do that, right? I used to love that because I would hit and I would go through that rough spot of no radio in coming through Indiana, right? I would have to deal with the country stations and stuff like that. But once I would hit Louisville, I would get a fresh black radio station. And then, Indianapolis, I would get a black radio station. Then in Louisville, and then running through Tennessee from Chattanooga to Nashville, I was getting some more. And back in the day, Chris Bass, we got our feel of Hoffman. And in the
WLAC.
Yeah. And those stations that would come, and just making a trip, traveling through these different towns to hear these different radio stations and these personalities was worth the trip. But next thing you know, when telecom came in, and when after Reagan wiped everything out and Fowler started doing his thing, then you start hearing V103 in Chicago, V103 in Atlanta, V103 in Charleston, South Carolina, and then power this and that over here, power this and that over there, and everything was the same. It is so bad right now, and I've always been a lover of radio that I don't listen to radio in the car anymore.
Right.
Pretty much. A lot of people.
And that's messed up with a capital F. And I was a radio guy. I studied this stuff, man. When I didn't get the job, then when I got too old and and my thing wasn't whatever, I started studying it and started going at it a different way. I mean, I'm to the point now where there's like no good talk programming for me. This is like the best talk programming for, for people for our age, right? And then I'm, Buck, no offense, and with all due respect, but I'm not gonna be dealing with, Jay-Z and all them cats saying what they saying and how they saying it. Cause radio killed the Temptations, man. It's like no more groups. It's nothing but single artists and stuff like that. So, but I know times change.
Oh, they probably got tired of splitting the money.
Yeah, well, that happens all the time. But splitting the money, the music industry has always looked out for itself.
Boom.
First thing that they're going to do when they got a group, they're going to get whoever the popular person is and split them. Because that's more money for them. That happened with Frankie Valli with the Four Seasons. You could go through any group, black, white, red, or whatever. They're going to try to sift you out of there. They're going to try to get you out of there. So that that's nothing. But I'm just talking about when even the award shows, I can't look at them. The only time they'll bring the OJs on there for a lifetime award or somebody else. But I grew up with the groups. And so my time has passed. So how are they redeveloping and bringing new things out? But it's like nobody's playing no instrument. Everybody is, doing this electronic music now. It's
no musicians nowadays. Yeah. Because where do you go to learn how to do music?
They have music school. Berkeley School of Music is the top one in the
But
country.
what he's talking about in the production form, now
man.
everything is produced on the computer.
How big is that class in the Berkeley School of Music nowadays? I bet at one time they had a few thousand people every semester. I wonder what that is today. But more importantly, let's say they're going there and they're getting a degree. They can compose, write, arrange, and produce music. But where do you go from there? Where's that job with that? You got that degree in hand. You're a badass music producing mofo. But where do you go from there?
I don't know.
You go to the Guitar Center and buy some damn equipment, a mixer and a drum machine and some software and a computer. You start making your stuff right there. And you could have saved your parents a lot of money going to that 4-year school to come out with a music degree, because that's what these kids are doing today.
That ain't even on that person. It's called a trend.
Well, yeah. But I'm saying that's what's killed the music schools and everything else, because people are saying, well, I don't need to spend $50,000 to get this degree. I can spend $2,000 and buy the equipment and keep hitting the wrong button enough, and you eventually come out with something that sounds halfway decent. And now the computer will score it for you. It'll tell you, no, that note doesn't work. Try this. That's what's up now.
And then the places that take the SAEs and all your good music production schools now, they cost 2 arms and a leg. And the only thing, and the thing that's really that's a trip about that, is that if you're not set up and lined up for a job or getting into the industry, the paper that you get is only going to be cool for a few minutes. It's like worse than a car, like a new car. When you pull off a new car off the lot, it has depreciated, 5.
Before you get out of the parking lot.
Before you get out the parking lot. And as for when you get a traditional degree, okay, that's just something that can never be erased. But you got to be, if you don't have it lined up in those, if you don't have yourself lined up when you go to these correspondence schools, man, you're going to spend a whole lot of money. And then when you get finished, you'll still be looking for a job. So for me, doing that, when I started learning, audio engineering and things, I was in church, Mike Love. I was in church.
Okay? Amen.
And I got trained by Urban Guerrilla engineer and founder, and Lee knows him, Danny Leak. And then I had, I had been touched by, Ernie Green, and learning how to do this. And so had it not been for the church, because I got practice in music and doing music every Sunday. I'm getting practice every Sunday with an orchestra and a choir and things like that. Where cats now today, I'm hearing real music, but cats now today, you sitting in front of this box, man, and like it's a different world. It's a different world. And mixing music now for me at this level on this digital equipment, oh man, I'm in heaven. I'm loving this because I can do so many things to whereas the things that I could do now in the studio, I would have to have a console that's like, 900, that'll fill up the whole room.
Yeah,
but
right.
now I could get that in half the space, in a quarter of the space.
Yeah, a small piece. All you need is one of these Mac Minis, a keyboard and a mouse and a 32-inch monitor, and you're straight. You're good to go.
One of the best consoles I saw was at XM, right? XM had a world-class sound studio in DC, right? Lee,
Yep.
I know you're familiar with this, and they had this,
Yep, I've been there.
this legendary console called the Sony Oxford. That console it's all software now.
Yeah, totally. Well, guys, with that, we've covered a lot of ground today, from politics to bullshit and technology and relationships. We've covered a lot tonight, as we always do. And I want to thank my astute panel and our new guy, Bug. Bug, good bugging. And we know what we forgot to do. We forgot to do phone calls tonight. What happened?
I sent you a text.
Oh, I missed it. My bad. But we got into the show, and we're going to introduce this whole telephone call-in, just like a regular call-in show. We know that some of you don't want to be seen, so you don't want to come in on a camera. So we're going to allow you to call in over your phone and be a part of the show. Until next week, please subscribe, like, and share to the show. We appreciate you, and spread the word. Tell your friends about what we're doing here. Let's grow this thing. I'm trying to reach 5,000 people by the end of the year. 5,000 subscribers. So help us out. We love you. Take care. Be safe, and pray for some of your loved ones. You may have someone in the hospital and not feeling well. Send up a prayer for them, because prayer does work. And you got to believe that it does work. So until next week, thanks, guys. I love you. Be safe. Be careful out there on the roads and what have you. And treat your life like a relay race. You are running in the race of life. And when it's time for you to pass the baton, reach back and give it to that person behind you, so the race never stops. It will carry on. Whatever your legacy is, it doesn't end if you pass the baton. Good night.